Conspiracies, government cover-ups, Earth mysteries, monster cryptids.
Hospital Porter's Pride and Dignity. Stop the New World Order. Welcome to HPANWO TV and welcome to this, the 110th reply to comments video. This is the 110th video in which I get to reply to your comments, hence the title. It's been a long journey, hasn't it, on this project? But yeah, we've got to 110. This is the video in which I reply to your comments, and the reason I make these videos is because I don't have time to reply by text, which is kind of like because I feel obliged to reply, because you guys, you make these comments. Some of them are very well thought out. Some of you asking direct questions to me. Some of you have specific criticisms. Some of you just want to tell me how much you love this channel. And I feel obliged to give you some kind of response to that. And I don't have time to reply by text, so I make these videos instead. Now you may think to yourself, what's the point of that, Ben? Because it's it's a 9-hour video and I just want to reply to one comment. There's not much point in that. Well, there's two reasons why that's not a problem. Firstly, you don't have to watch the entire video, because I'll put a timestamp under the video, under the comments I'm replying to you, telling you exactly when to, well, not exactly, but within the nearest hour that I'll be replying to you in the upcoming reply to comments video. So so you don't have to watch the entire 9-hour video. But also let's face it, I do these reply to comments videos more often now. I used to do them every 2 or 3 months, I remember, and they used to be 9 hours long. Now they're usually about, well, that's considerably less than 9 hours. Usually less than half that normally. And so they're not as long as they used to be. Another reason I do these videos is because I enjoy doing them, and you, the viewers, often enjoy watching them. They're some of the most popular videos I produce, and some of you watch them all the way through. And another reason I do them is simply to preserve the comments, because if I lose a video or even lose the channel, which in this day and age, let's face it, is not unlikely, the comments, that is the philosophical dialogue, which Stephen Molyneux actually says is a very precious thing, will be preserved. Molly actually said this when he got banned off YouTube. He regretted losing all the comments, even though he had all his videos backed up. So that's another reason to do these reply to comments videos. So that's it. By the way, I hope there's a slight change in my background. I don't know if you noticed it, but just over my left shoulder on the right-hand side of your screen, there's like a little, do you see that yellow brownish disc? It says Area 51 on it, and there's an alien face. That was a present from a good friend of mine when I met them last week in Reading. Now, I did shoot a little video of that. Neil Ward has actually uploaded his copy. It was actually him and his wife Monica who gave me that. Now, I don't actually. I will upload it myself at some point, but I haven't had time to edit it just yet. But yeah, if you could go and watch it on Neil Peel, the Paranormal Peep Show, definitely. So let's go on to your comments. So we start off here on BitChute Band, right? So it's and he says, even God didn't interfere with the free will of Adam and Eve. Well, he says Damasoveles. Absolutely, Damasoveles, that's right. But the government think they can interfere with our free speech, don't they? Reply to comments 109. Gary Robertson, hey mate, first comments reply I've had a chance to listen to for some time. Cheers. Oh, you're welcome, Gary. And it was good to meet you the other day. I met Gary Robertson for the first time ever. Yeah, he actually does exist. Yeah, and Rad Snapper says, are you implying that they've got boring snore? No, he's not, Red Snapper. It's all right. There's another reason for that. And he says, not trying to pit you and Ben against each other, just making a trolley jokey comment. That's all right, Red Snapper. We know you know when you're kind of joking. Yeah, so Gary hasn't been able to tune in for a while. He's had other things on his plate, but he's back, which is great. I replied to comments 109. Oh, we got Steve Mumbling. Steve Mumbling, yes. As you know, I did a reply to Steve Mumbling video this particular cycle, which is very good fun. At Bufog, you refer to Simon Holland as Dr. Holland, hence my comment. He's no PhD. Of course, a signal from Proxima B means a planet orbiting the star. Proxima is the star. Proxima B is the planet orbiting the star. Yeah, I know that. You're clearly demonstrating how completely clueless you are regarding BLC1. When I had my little chat with yourself and the defectives, Halfwit Henderson claimed radio waves couldn't pass through the Van Allen belts. I said they could. You never piped up and said Steve is right. Why, if you know they can? Henderson's remarks during that little chat clearly show he's as dumb as a box of hammers. He's certainly not a very clever chap. FFS. All right. Well, what I called Simon Holland, I call him Dr. Holland. I know even he admits that his name Professor and stuff like that is kind of it's just a joke, really. I mean, I know a lot of people say, well, that's stolen valor. Well, not really, because he's open about why he calls himself that. He doesn't pretend to be something he's not. So we know he's not a professor, really. But it's just it's to do with his look and the way he talks and the way his hair stands out. He looks like a typical scientist. It's kind of like just a character he plays. And look, what's this? And I said, of course, a signal from Proxima B means a planet orbiting the star. Yeah, well, why is that clueless? I was just making the point that it's on the planet orbiting the star. Hence, you get this signal drift. Well, I just said that myself. As for Scott Henderson, the reason I didn't pipe up and say Steve is right is partly it's to do with your attitude and the fact that you were calling people geese and things like that. And I thought to myself, I'm not going to say that when you're being so rude. And secondly, Scott can fight his own corner. He's a big boy. He can stand up for himself, and he did pretty well to you, I think. And now we have Steve mumbling again. I'll reply to comments 109. Lunar's Declassification Task Force UAP skiff is tomorrow, closely followed by a roundtable UAP experts. Excuse me. And another hearing on the 12th of May, when they repeat what Sean Kirkpatrick said. No, and conclude, no, visiting crashed ETs is all science fiction rubbish, as they surely will. Will you finally accept that, or will you start screaming, conspiracy, truth embargo, LOL? And David Smith says, any day now, in his usual sarcastic way underneath. Well, Steve, firstly, I mean, this was 3 weeks ago you posted this comment. It was just after I uploaded the last reply to comments video. And as you know, this hearing was cancelled as you made an entire video gloating over that fact. And I made a reply video to you explaining why that was and explaining that's not the big deal you think it is. As for what they say on the hearing, we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see, shall we? I mean, you predict it will be just a repeat of what Sean Kirkpatrick said to Kirsten Gillibrand and the others, but we don't know that, do we? Will I finally accept it, or will I still be screaming conspiracy, truth embargo? Depends on the context. We'll wait and see. I mean, honestly, if they can really, if they honestly come forward and give a good, comprehensive, and logical explanation about why all these things occur and there's no ET involvement, I will hold my hands up. I'll admit I was wrong. But they've had the best part of 90 years to do so, and they haven't done it yet. So I'm not hopeful they will do now. Fact of the matter is, Steve, there is evidence. In fact, there's overwhelming evidence. There is a non-human intelligence engaging the human race. And skeptics like you who deny that and disagree with that, I'm afraid, you seem to be using all the skeptic fallacies that I talk about in my skeptic talk. As you know, as I've said. Oh, Steve mumbling to the video. He's done a reply video to me. We might as well watch it. Should we watch it? It's only 11 minutes long. I know, 11 bloody minutes. We might as well watch it. I'm not going to do a special video to reply to this, but let's have a look at his channel, shall we? Here we go. I always got a new one now. 3 days ago. Mellon, Elizondo, and Grush call in sick. They're too sick to attend lunar skiff. Well, I've kind of been through that. Oh, here we go. Look, there we go. Ben Emlyn-Jones clearly demonstrates he has an IQ smaller than his shoe size. Lol. Not a very good title there, Steve. Anyway, let's see what you say in 11. Okay. Right, you got 11 minutes to reply to the 2-hour video I did to you. All right, let's just can you see it? You should be able to see it. Here we go. Have I disliked it? Yes, I have. Right. I actually put a comment here, as you can see here. Anyway, Steve replied to me, and so has David. Oh wow. Oh, we'll come on to those in a minute, but let's watch this then. As always, at 1.5 speed, because it gets through Steve's endless rambling, And it's also quite funny hearing him chuckle at 1.5 speed.
Okay, I'm not going to do much in response to Emlyn-Jones's response video. It's just full of the usual rubbish.
You certainly haven't done enough. 11 minutes 29 seconds.
You know, NASA faked the moon landings. 9/11 was some sort of, you know, energy weapon.
Yep.
You know, he didn't actually say that the Queen of England was a shape-shifting lizard from outer space, but he said it before, and he's told us he all believes that.
Yes, I do, and the reason I didn't say it simply wasn't relevant to the subject matter of the video.
That's Jones's critical thinking ability. Of course, his mother, a professional psychologist, said he lives in cloud cuckoo land. He has no grip on reality. Now, this is
Steve. That's my. That's one of the many ad hominem attacks you make in here. All right, you know very well. I have never actually disputed what my mum said about me. She didn't actually practice as a psychologist per se. She was a relationship counselor. She did get a degree in psychology as a mature student, and she practiced as a relationship counselor. This is how Isabel Menzies Lythe came in and took over our family, if you remember. But you sound. I mean, you're going to say you're going to make more ad hominem attacks in me. Okay, but anyway, carry on.
This is a fairly good example, I think, because...
But you see, I've got to ask yourself, why do you trust my mum's judgment, someone you don't even know? And you think, well, because his mother said this and she's like a practicing psychologist, which she wasn't. She was trained as a relationship counselor, like I said. She was never a clinical psychologist. Why is that relevant? Why do you need to quote a woman who you don't even know? I didn't even know you when she died. I only met you, I think, around about was it 2010, 2011 or so. I'll have to check to find out. So why is it necessary? And all you're doing is you're taking information that I gave you myself, which I've spoken quite openly about myself, and I don't really see that. I don't really pretend otherwise. It's not like you've revealed some great secret that I've been keeping.
Well, he's just saying now that visiting ETs are about as likely to be true as the tooth fairy.
What? No. Steve, all right, I know what he's going to say, but let's just go. I actually make this point in my comment, but let's go through. Let's hear what he has to say. This is Steve on 3 times speed, because I put him on 3 times to 1.5, and now we're watching him on 1.5. But you know what Steve's going to say anyway. It's the usual that sort of thing.
Now he's saying, I've been told it's true. And I think that's because he thinks he's likely to be subpoenaed. Because when he was told David Rush about this, David Rush being fanboy loves it. But he's not going to be subpoenaed, Steve. He can't.
All right, let's I'll just you can go and watch the original video of this, but Steve is just making the point that about David Grush and the comments. He says a bit more in a minute.
Because remember, these things don't exist. You can't subpoena.
This is the point where I've just said, these things don't exist, you see. This is what Steve thinks I'm saying. Steve thinks I'm admitting these things don't exist.
So we're hearing talk about things that aren't real. You see how far you get sitting up here for the tooth fairy. Do you think you can really hold someone to a subpoena of that? No way. You'll be done for contempt of court. Isn't that true, Steve? These things don't exist, remember?
Yeah, you see, he's got a very funny way of thinking about things, hasn't he?
Steve, as I said in my comment to you, I was being sarcastic. Isn't this obvious? I was being sarcastic, and I was making a kind of parody view in that little segment there.
Yeah. I mean, they're claiming these things do exist, so of course he could be subpoenaed in order to prove that, can't he?
Sarcasm, Steve.
He said something else as well that I thought was just pathetic.
You think everything I say is pathetic, and I think everything you say is pathetic.
Hang on a second, I'll just do another clip. Okay, well, there's another clip where Jones clearly demonstrates he's got zero analytical ability.
Oh, right, yes. I say you have zero analytical ability, right? Because you think 2 + 2 = 4. I think 2 + 2 = 5. Prove me wrong. You can't, because you have zero analytical ability. See? Fallacy.
We're searching our C5. It's the same thing, different name. C5. Alien contact. Nick the alien spacecraft fly over Phoenix. They can design these alien spacecraft, full alien Starship full of Starship crew with Starship captain, Starship first officer.
Sorry, Steve seems to make more sense actually when you hear him at 3 times speed.
Is he interested in being summoned by an earthly? You think so?
But again, that's anthropomorphizing, as I explained before. It seems strange because you're basically saying, well, if we went to another planet, we wouldn't do that. If we went to some other planet, we wouldn't make strange markings in a cornfield and abduct some wide-eyed yokel and shove probes.
Well, that's right. And aliens wouldn't do it either, because aliens would have gone through an industrial revolution. They would have gone through a technological revolution. They'd be capable of logical thought. They'd be capable of critical thought. They wouldn't waste their time drawing patterns in fields and all this sort of stuff. But Jones can't get his head around this.
No, you see, but yes, they would have had to develop a very sophisticated culture, but you are dealing with something alien. Now, alien means different. Alien means strange. It means it's different. It's not like us. We're talking about a form of life that is developed from the very smallest proto-microbes into a sophisticated living organism. You can't assume that they're going to think, even though they will have gone through some kind of industrial revolution, as you say, they would have developed a high technology. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be like us to that extent. They will have understood science, yes, they'll have understood mathematics. It doesn't mean they're necessarily going to communicate the way we communicate. As Terence McKenna very rightly said, this sort of thing, it's like pointing a telescope at the sky and expecting to find a good Italian restaurant. Slight exaggeration, but I understand the point he's making. You should, Steve, please watch the film Arrival if you haven't, because the Arrival, Denis Villeneuve movie, much better than his other films, I must say. It's probably the best alien invasion movie ever made, and you'll know if you've watched it that the bulk of the narrative is simply humans learning how to talk to the aliens. They don't bring in like the usual crowd, the crash retrieval people and the materials analysts and then the biologists. They bring in a linguist. So yeah, point made, I think.
He's just not smart enough to understand that.
I think you're not smart enough to understand it. That proved you wrong. Honestly, this little 11-minute video is an absolute gold mine for anyone playing fallacy bingo. Please just get your cards out when you're watching this, because you'll get the full house.
If we're talking about aliens that can build spacecraft that can fly around the galaxy, they are going to think a lot like us.
No,
you're not going to be able to engineer all that sort of stuff and make it work, and then draw a pattern in the field. They're not going to see the logic in that. They just talk.
There are industrial cultures in this world, even among our species, which have elements that I don't understand. I was talking to a friend of mine who lives in Portugal the other day, and he just has a blog, and I've never met him, but I comment on his blog, and he was just telling me he's an Englishman living in Portugal. He has lived there for a long time. He's married to a native woman. He's learned their language. He works there. He's got like all the things that you need to function in that society: a job, an ability to speak the local language, and friends and a partner, right? But he says that as an Englishman, there's a part of the culture of Portugal that will always be a mystery to him, no matter how long he lives there. No matter how much he fits into the indigenous way of life, there will always be an element to Portugal he doesn't understand that a native would understand immediately. I could give you many, many other examples of that.
To us through a radio telescope, one of our radio telescopes. They wouldn't be remotely interested in abducting lumberjacks or drawing patterns in fields.
Again, assumption, which is
we wouldn't do that, so therefore the aliens wouldn't do that to us.
Of course they wouldn't. Jones can't understand this because he spends his
You can't understand it because Steve, you can't understand it.
Life. Yeah, this is his whole life. This hobby of his, this ET's coming here and crashing here and visiting here, is his whole life. He sits in his basement bedsit, filling his head with all this bloody rubbish off the internet all day and every day when he's not out walking a dog or getting groceries for an OAP. That's Jones's life.
And so, what's wrong with that? Is there any dishonor in that? Look, I'm quite honest about myself. This is something of an obsession for me. It is literally all I do. I mean, I don't really have friends in the local area. All my friends are online, and I see them at conferences. Apart from my brother Porter, I sometimes I meet up with in the in the pub and things like that. I'm not very close to my living family. That's my brother and my dad. I'm close to my daughter, but not to my brother and my dad really. And I don't support a football team. I'll sometimes watch football on TV, but generally I don't support a football team or anything like that. So yeah, this is what I do, even when I'm at work. I mean, as you say, I do shopping for OAPs and I walk dogs and I do gardening and things like that. Well, would you prefer me to be a pimp or a drug dealer? I mean, where's the dishonor in that? It's a perfectly good occupation for a former hospital porter. Perfectly good, perfectly decent, honourable profession, and I'm proud of it.
If you take that away, what's he got?
But again, that is.
Yeah, I know. I admit that, and that's again, as with the situation with my mum. You're attacking me. You're trying to attack my personal life, thinking you're saying things that I don't know. It's like these people who come up to me and call me a fat bald cunt and things like that, right? Which I'm sure you're tempted to as well. It's like I have this kind of I have this persona of being like this really skinny, buff guy, like a ballet dancer, like a male ballet dancer with a massive afro, like Leo Sayer. But this guy comes along and says, no, you're actually fat and bald, Ben. I'm telling you something you didn't realize this, did you, Ben? But I'm actually telling you you're fat and bald. I know that, Steve. I know it.
Assumption based on regarding the entire universe of being like us and thinking like us, and seeing the world out there and seeing the world the way we do.
If they're flying around the galaxy, that's exactly what they would be doing.
Summoned? No, I really don't think so.
I think we're almost halfway through. Do you want to watch the rest of this?
I've said this very easily. You would think summoning alien spacecraft would be significantly harder than summoning a Cessna. But someone playing disability, just take them out to a little airport nearby and say, okay, Cessna fly around here and join us and dinner. Get one there to zigzag. Reach out. Summon it to zigzag. Because summoning a Cessna to zigzag would be many orders of magnitude easier than summoning an alien spacecraft, I think. Well, if you sort of instructed the pilot beforehand to do that, then there are some things.
All right, so I think we've seen enough of that, guys. Let's go to the comments. There we go. I'll put it back onto normal speed. Let's just go and just skim through this.
If you instructed the pilot beforehand, to zigzag or fly around in circles, then of course you can do that. That's not summoning it, though, is it?
All right, you're talking about that. Now the CE5 thing, the dog whistle stuff, I'm not so familiar with, but so I'll skip that bit. But anyway,
reaching out with your mind to a Cessna said that he's got no grip on reality.
Yeah, you've just said
he
that.
He doesn't understand.
What's that?
Even his mother,
again repeating the same points.
Reply to me that he did. I don't watch Jones's channel anymore because everything he says is
Steve,
complete.
You love my channel. Come on, you're my favourite hate watch. I am your favourite hate watch. Let's face it.
And utter rubbish. It's fanboy driven watching.
Is that it?
So that's as much time as I'm prepared to put into Jonesy.
And that's as much time as I'm prepared to put into you, Steve. Let's have a look at the comments here. Oh, Steve says, I don't normally reply to comments on other people's channels here, but he says, your arguments are in the same ballpark as that brick wall is really made of custard. Just ask any remote viewer. There's not much I can do with that. No, it's not. That's not what my arguments are like. I'm actually talking about real evidence here, Steve. There's not much. A couple of points I do recall. You don't listen to what I had to say, as usual. I said your mate Steve Bassett. Fuck off. Don't never insult Steve Bassett in front of me. You leave Stephen Bassett alone. Claim Trump would disclose. All right, we've been through that. You said he hadn't. You hadn't. Right. I never said you did. What? You said that you hadn't said Trump would disclose within 60 days of inauguration. And of course I was right. Trump didn't disclose because there's nothing to disclose. No, that's not true. I actually, Steve, I'm disappointed at the moment with Trump's position on UFOs. I've never said that Trump is perfect. And indeed, I mean, Ross Coulthard has made this point. His press secretary, her very first ever thing she said at her first press conference was, it's just hobbyists. The drones are just hobbyists, which is nonsense, of course. You said Mac Brazel was paid off to change his statement about what he found at Roswell, but offered zero evidence to support that claim. Well, I suggest you read the books by Stanton Friedman, Don Schmidt, and Tom Carey, and many other people, because they all refer to this. There's plenty of evidence for that. Indeed, he even told Frank Joyce of KGRA privately, according to what Frank said later. He said, well, the green men, the little green men are not green. He said that because Frank said, look, Mac, you made this up. You made this up, didn't you? This is all fake. You've been told to change your story. And he sort of almost said, yeah. All of your responses are the same. They're all pie in the sky bullshit, blah-de-blah-de-blah. Check out my latest video and you'll love it. You said quantum entanglement communications have been proved by a physicist at Princeton by transmitting and receiving music. I assume you're talking about this. This is not quantum entanglement. He doesn't. All right. Okay. All right. It's something different. It's quantum tunneling, which is slightly different technically, I know. But it shows that spooky action at a distance does exist. But anyway, is this because I couldn't remember where I found that out. I mentioned it in, here we are. Fast and Light. Yeah, this is it. That's it. Yeah, this is Gunter Nimitz. That's him. I remember he had the same name as the ship where which was involved in the 2017 Tic Tac attack. Nimitz, Gunter Nimitz. That's right. Yeah, this is it. Yeah, look at this. amazing. Oh, that is what I meant, yeah. And I won't play any more of that because you get copyrighted even for like sub-ether transmissions of music from a 400-year-old composer. But yeah, his results have been dismissed by other physicists. All right, and then David Smith says here, but your video is just claims, Ben. You say rhetoric and no argument, but you do a lot of that too. There's nothing to debunk and no decent evidence has been presented. That's the whole problem with these subjects. It amounts to trust me, bro style arguments, which for cases like this is just insufficient. Name one falsifiable point you made that can have no other explanation than that of being good evidence for the claims. All right, falsifiable point. Okay. I don't, you know, when it comes to rhetoric, no argument, how often do I go on about how Steve Mumbling has got nothing to do in his life except he's some kind of retired electrical engineer, and he sticks flags in the ground and takes photos of them and things like that. How often do I say to Steve, when I go on about what his mother said about him, his mother like denounced him and said he was silly and things like that? How often do I do that? I do use arguments and keep rhetoric to a minimum. I try to anyway. And the trust me bro style arguments, of course, this is what the backslappers say. This is Campion's principal argument point. Where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? Well, I mean, as Ross Coulthard said, you know, this is a process that's going on, and it's not there for your entertainment. You know, you can sit there singing a Queen song. I want it all. I want it all. I want it all, and I want it now. Well, tough. You can't have it all now. You're gonna have to wait. And you see, this is how this process, if the process is going to begin like this, I think you're just going to have to be patient. But of course, we have like lots of people sitting in hearings. But I mean, I believe there's enough evidence in terms of the testimony that comes. That there's no smoke without fire. There's no fire without smoke. We have a lot of testimony. We have, I think, enough witness testimony to, I think, conclude there is something going on under the surface, which will come out. And as for what falsifiable point have I made that can have no other explanation than that of being good evidence for the claims? Right. Well, if I understand you rightly, almost everything we say is falsifiable. I say things like, well, there's this object in the sky. It's exhibiting the 5 observables. If it's not, I mean, if there's some reason why another object that's not ET could exhibit that, then I'll say, okay, well, it shows significant evidence to suggest it is for signature management and things like this. I'll admit that's not ET. There, that's falsifiable. All right, let's move on, guys. I've had enough of this, so I'll go back to. This is supposed to be applied to my comments video, but not Steve's. This is a reply to my comments. All right, Ralph Rinter says on Weird Weekend North 2025, nice one, Ben, wonderful vid. Thank you very much, Ralph. Glad you enjoyed it. Weird Weekend North was great. 109 Red Snapper, you once said you would have stayed anonymous if you would known what would happen to you when you came out as a woo-woo. Do you stand by that? I think there's no valor in being a false martyr, and I think that. If I'd known what was going to happen, I had no way of knowing this, because I mean I started HPANWO in 2006. That's when in those days there's no reason to think that I would get into trouble for saying these sorts of things online. But if I had known that I might get into trouble for saying these sorts of things online, I would not have revealed my real name, and I would have probably said I was a hospital porter, but I wouldn't have been so open about the hospital I was serving at and things like that. I'd have done more to protect my anonymity. I probably would have still done face to cam. I mean, these sort of like faceless channels are not as good as the ones where you actually see a person. But I would have just called myself Ben. I just call myself Ben the JR. I wouldn't have said JR. I'd have said Ben the hospital porter or something like that. I would have called myself. But you see, there's no way I could have known that, is there? 739. Do sheep dream of androids? Aha, get it. Yes, it was exactly. It's a play on the Philip K. Dick book. Dr. Hildegard Langstrom. Yes, you are quite mad. Yes, Dr. Fruit Loop. I love these Red Dwarf references. That's on 109. And she says, in the description of the video, there's an option to show transcript. Your viewers can use this to find Control F, a keyword in their username or question, and skip directly to their answers. All right. In fact, Hildegard, thank you very much. That's very useful to know. So please bear that in mind, guys. I mean, I'll add this to the. Let me just add this to my notes. Here we go. So I'll actually put this in my general notes. I'll go down. Where is it? Here we go. Reply to comments notes. And I'll just paste it into there. So I'll know to do this next time. There we go. Okay, so go back. All right, here we go. So back to there. And I've got to, of course, because I've got to remember to put it back on the clipboard, Ben. Put the notice comments back on the clipboard. Thank you very much, Dr. Langstrom. You may be quite mad, but you're not Mr. Flibble, are you? The king of the potato people says that you are very, very good. Right, 109. John Nolan says here on 109. I saw a documentary on Helen Duncan on BBC Three a few weeks ago that they destroyed that woman's life even when she got out of prison. The powers that be feared her. Yes, I saw that too. It was this one. Where is it? By the way, if you want to know anything more about Helen Duncan, this is probably the best Helen Duncan resource on the internet. It's my Helen Duncan portal, which is here. Anything you want about Helen Duncan is here. So yeah, it was this one, Paranormal Britain's Last Witch. I've done an entire review of, if you go to her PANWO Voice, there's the URL. I've done an entire review of that program here, which you can read. And I've been in touch with Margaret Hahn, Helen's granddaughter, and we've been discussing it. You know, okay. Hugo Rune, Ben, you are a diamond. Thanks, so are you, Hugo. Hope to see you soon, mate. I'm going to come and visit. I did email you. I mean, give us an email back, and we'll sort that out. An original Dwarn boy says, even better, he wears a diamond star halo. Oh, thank you, original Dwarn boy. You guys are great. You really, really are. 109 Hugo Rune, HHGTTG. That's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So long and thanks for all the fish. Magic, yes. So long and thanks for all the fish. That's what the dolphins said before they left. Here we go. Hugo Rune. I am British, not English. The English are Germans. I speak English, French, Dutch, German, and Portuguese. Notice the capitals I use. Stuff the English. All right. And David Splendid Isolation says Angles and Saxons. And Red Snapper says Jutes. Red Snapper says pretty impressive language resume. Yes, that's a lot. I mean, I've spoken. Funny to think, I've spoken 5 languages in my life, but you know, I can only speak one now fluently because I haven't used the others for so long. You have to keep using foreign languages, otherwise you lose them. And Hugo says, I've lived and worked and visited 31 countries during my working life. Yeah, that's right. You've been over. I mean, I remember you saying until I had my accident in Ukraine in 1992, which left me in a wheelchair. After a year of repair and training, I added a 32nd country, but now I no longer have a driving license, as 3 years ago I had a stroke which affected my mental capacity. I'm now 67 years old. Oh, Hugo, I'm sorry, mate. I'm sorry I didn't know you had a stroke. That explains why you were so quiet. Yeah, I'm sorry, mate. Hugo's story is amazing. Like he's been in the news because of his accident. He suffered like permanent nerve damage, which he relieves with the pain and the spasms and things. He relieves with cannabis, and he's been in the news about this. And my mother did the same thing because she had multiple sclerosis, and she relieved the neuralgia and the other problems to do with nerve damage using cannabis. And I remember you were in the papers, Hugo. I remember you actually got on the TV news. Hugo was interviewed by the TV. I remember you telling me, man. When I see you, we'll have a long discussion about that. Now, I'm not British, I'm English. Hugo Rune, it's the same thing. I mean, David and Red Snapper talk about Angles and Saxons and Jutes. But, you know, it's a controversial thing. And I mean, I've talked a lot about this. If you look at my Visiting the Senedd video, I go into details about this. But basically, they're all the same people. And this is where it gets controversial. They are the same people racially and culturally as the Celts, who were like pre-Roman. There was no Anglo-Saxon invasion or conquest. It was simply the local people adopted a new language and culture. The evidence is clear in the DNA. of the people at the time, and also in language. I mean, English is a very weird language because it appears to be. I mean, it's well known. It is like, in terms of its vocabulary, it's a hodgepodge of Germanic and Romance through the Norman conquest. But if you go back even earlier, it's clearly a second language spoken by Celtic-speaking people. Watch the documentary Britain AD and Britain BC, or there's two of them actually. And now we have here another. What's here? We have another one. Oh, I've done that one. British, not German. Okay. And so English are not Germans. The English are not Germans. Well, the English, the Germans are they're a particular group of people who live in the area we call Germany, which they called Deutschland. It was the term Germany comes from Germania, which refers to Germanus, who was a Roman emperor who, oddly enough, this is where it gets really weird. Germanus actually was in prison, and he was in his prison cell, and he allegedly committed suicide before his trial. And the date he committed suicide was exactly 1,920 years, exactly to the day, before a certain Mr. Epstein did the same thing, which is very, very odd. It's probably a coincidence, but it's very, very odd. So English and German is not the same. English people are essentially are actually the indigenous people of the British Isles, who originally built Stonehenge. They eventually adopted the Celtic language and culture, roughly around 1000 BC, and then about 1500 years later, adopted a new language, Old English, and Anglo-Saxon culture. Right, here we go again. Right. Oh, is this a thread? No, it's not a thread. Oh, sorry, it's not a thread. It's a whole load of different comments from Red Snapper. All right. Hugo Rune 109. You mentioned Billy Bunter. Thanks for the memory, found on YouTube, and we'll watch with great pleasure later. Thank you. You're welcome, Billy Bunter. I thought one of the trolls gave me the nickname Billy Bunter, which is interesting. Right, Red Snapper says on 109. It must have been awful being traded in for another Egyptian model. Oh, you're talking about Suastain, yeah. It was awful. Oh, a younger Egyptian model. Well, I don't know how old he was. But which is ironically neither did Suastain. She didn't know how old he was either, because all she'd seen of him was a bloody photograph and a couple of videos, which, as you know, can be enhanced using filters. But it's very painful. It's a very painful way for a relationship to end. But I'm just trying to move on from that. I mean, the only reason I tell you on these videos is because there's literally no one else I can talk to about this. No one else listens. No one else is interested, apart from you guys. And that's not an appeal for pity. I wouldn't swap. I wouldn't trade places with anyone else in this world other than being me. Red Snapper, do you ever foresee a day when these reply to comments will stop? Only when you guys stop making comments. When you people, my viewers, stop making comments, I will stop making these reply to comments videos. 109. Could you? This is Red Snapper again. Red Snapper's list. He's done so many of them. Thank you, Red. I think you're a he. You sound like a man. Correct me if you're a woman, but you sound like a man. Could you ever embrace flat Earth and space is fake theories? Well, if the evidence stood up, I would, because I don't have this visceral emotional aversion to flat Earth and flat Earth people in the same way like that Jarrah White does, or Andrew Johnson. I am willing to discuss with them. Indeed, I have done debates, as regulars will know, with some big flatties such as David Weiss and Mark Sargent. I've actually debated them. I met another one at Mark Devlin's birthday party. I'm hoping to interview him. But I don't think it's real. I'm going to explain why I don't think it's real. Red Snapper. I used to love the Tim Henman games. He was I'm not a tennis fan, unfortunately, but you could see he was skilled, but he was a bit of a miserable bastard, as tennis players tend to be. I mean, I dislike the sport, to be honest. I mean, I'll watch the women's game because it's more entertaining for obvious reasons, of course, but also because it's you don't get these aces. You tend to get more rallies because they don't serve as hard as the men. So it's slightly more entertaining than the men's game. There you go. Red Snapper says, I can access BitChute through NordVPN. Good. That's on 109 again. I'm glad to hear it, Red Snapper, because some people using Nord and couldn't get it. Now, I've never had a problem. I've never had a problem with Tor. In fact, Tor has become a lot more reliable. I used to have to refresh a few times. You see, Tor, you can restart it. You can if you can't access, if you're looking for something on Tor and you find you can't reach it, just restart the browser. Just restart the browser and try again. And I guarantee you, something it takes a few times, 4 or 5 times, but I do eventually find it. I do eventually find what I'm looking for. And funny enough, since BitChute got banned in UK, I never have to restart. I mean, it gets it first time every time. It gets it first time. So, and funny if Tor is free as well, whereas you have to pay for Nord. So, but I'm glad you found a way through it. Right, now this is a community notice. I've uploaded a new TikTok video. YouTube won't let me post a link, but it's easy to find. And Bobster the blind beagle terrier says, "You are mad, Ben." Oh, you think that, don't you? But I'm not. You know, maybe you've misjudged the situation, Bob. 109. I got it from Rightmove. Oh, right, well, there's a timestamp. What's he talking about? I better look up because I don't know what he's talking about. Are there vacancies there? I mean, are there any flats to let there? I'm not sure. I probably couldn't afford to move in there, but if but if I did, I would wonder. Do I want to live in the house where he was born? I'm not sure. Crowley, yeah, Crowley, yes. 14004. Got it from Rightmove. All right. I see Rightmove had a list as Crowley's house is listed. Right. That's this house in Leamington Spa. Right. It's interesting. Yeah. 109, Red Snapper. Do you consider David Icke's Robots Rebellion a seminal work? Yes. I would actually say that book, or possibly, well, to be honest, all of David Icke's books are kind of self-contained. So all of them are very, very, very similar. This is not a criticism. They're because people say, well, they're a bit repetitive. But they're designed to be self-contained. They're designed to be all you really need to read. I would say, probably in terms of its simplicity and its efficiency of narrative, probably The Robots Rebellion is probably the best book, or maybe I Am Me, I Am Free. With the I Am Me, I Am Free is probably the second best book after Robots to introduce someone new to this particular subject. I'd say that's true. That is. The downside of I Am Me, I Am Free, in fact, the only reason I don't consider it better is because it's got a picture of a naked David Icke on the front. All right, just to warn you. But yeah, definitely. There we go. Right, Red Snapper. Do you believe in life on Proxima B? That's 109. I don't know, Red Snapper. You see, you're talking about something that's so far away. It's 4.5 light years is as you know, it's thousands of years journey away from in any spacecraft we could conceive, at least within the public space program. There is a signature coming from it, which has been analysed by people at SETI, which is interesting. We don't know if it's an intelligent signal. Steve Mumbling is convinced it's not. Professor Brian Holland, which is his name, not his title, believe that there is evidence for it, and he believes there's something related to quantum tunneling as well, that there's been some detection via quantum tunneling, which I've done an entire video about this, or 2 videos actually. But it is impossible to confirm until we get closer. It's impossible to confirm. So it's ironic to think that Proxima B, despite its distance, is probably the closest planet to the Earth outside the solar system. The others are much further away. I mean, most of the interesting planets you hear about in the news are hundreds of times the distance. I mean, it's incredible. Oh, right, it's Red Snapper 109. Does the advent of this as a timestamp here? I'll only click these timestamps if I don't know what you're talking about. All right. Red Snapper says, does the advent of CCTV in line with the decline of crop circles indicate it was a fraud, similar to that of religious miracles declining as technology advances? Someone produced a bar chart showing the decline of miracles since ancient times. I would say yes, actually. But no, I would say the advent of CCTV is in line with the decline of crop circles, but it doesn't indicate it was a fraud. It does not indicate it was a fraud. All it indicates is that the remaining ones that make it through the filter of constant CCTV to surveillance are more likely to be the real thing. So I don't lament there are fewer crop circles. In fact, we've only just had the first one. It's one of the latest in history. Literally, we've had only I think there's been 2 this season so far, which is very, very low. It's really as low as it's been since this arrived. But that's more. That, in a sense, acts as an experimental control. The CCTV has acted as an experimental control, so that the ones that are left are more likely to be the real thing. It's like when one appeared. Do you remember when that crop circle appeared inside Andrew Lloyd Webber's estate? And now Andrew Lloyd Webber, the famous musician, and he's the TV composer and TV music journalist. He's famous for being obsessed with security. His estate is surrounded by a high fence, CCTV, really tight security. And he was saying to his head of security, he's really angry. When this crop circle appeared in his field, in one of the fields, in one of the farms inside the estate, he said, well, how the hell did they get in? But there's another example here. Let me just find another example for you. Let me see if I may not be able to find it. Where is it? Because it's bloody blah. Because there was one that appeared during the lockdown. Here we go. Look, this one. I'll show you it. Ironically, it looks a bit like a virus particle. 2020 first crop circle. And I make this point here. This year represents a unique opportunity for seriologists. Every season, the question is always raised about how many of the formations are by human circle makers. What lockdown might serve as to clear up that conundrum, partly because the lockdown presents an effective experimental control. So the number of crop circles are lower, but the ones that appear are far less likely to be made by human hands. This means we have a far smaller sample to deal with, so the analysis has been done before will be much easier. Yeah, exactly. So it's the same thing, I think. 109. He says, "Are you okay with the timestamps? I worry about posting too many." No, there's yes, there's no problem, Red Snapper. I'm okay with the timestamps. You're not posting too many. In fact, it's sometimes necessary for me to understand the context of what you're talking about. Oh, reply to comments 1. That's my first ever reply to comments video. This is where it all began. Yes, that's my first ever general reply to comments video. Now, to be fair, my reply to comments videos actually evolved out of an earlier project, which was during the UFO disclosure videos. I would do reply to the previous UFO disclosure videos. But then I thought, well, why don't I just do an entire project of videos which reply to all my comments? And that's how the reply to comments videos began. Can you believe it? It started in the first one I uploaded on the 12th of September 2016. Yeah. And now 110 later, here I'm still going. Right, did Lee Brickley, says Red Snapper on comment 1, right, did Lee Brickley ever come on the channel? No. Now, I can't, now, let me just click the timestamp because this was a long time ago. Do you want to let's have a look at my early reply to comments video? Here we go. This is my first ever one.
Get you this book here.
Oh, I was in my old room. I was in the old room back there, yes, before I moved into this bigger one.
This book here, I want this book.
Ah,
this
yes. I remember, I just think Lee Brickley. I've heard that name before, Lee Brickley. And of course, here it is. Yes, I've got the book somewhere. The UFOs, this is to do with Cannock Chase. Yeah.
Pigmen. It's by Lee Brickley. UFOs, werewolves, and the Pigmen exposing England's strangest location, Cannock Chase. I wrote to this guy asking if he'd come on HPANWO radio. He hasn't replied to me.
Yeah, that's right. No, he never got back to me. But thanks for that little blast from the past there. Yes, Cannock Chase is weird. I mean, Robbie Graham, who sadly passed away at a very young age. He was only 42. He also lived near Cannock Chase, and he did made videos about the place. Right. Here's another one. Right, here we go. This is on again. Reply to comments 1. Hey. Red Snapper, you're doing yourself proud, mate. What's this? The 2016 clown mystery was weird. Oh yeah, I think I know what this is about.
Yeah, clowns roaming the streets. I wrote an article about strange clowns roaming the streets.
Ah, yes, that's right. Yeah,
I think I did.
Yeah, that's right. I did write an article about that, so you can find it on my channel. But that was very weird. Yes, I mean, a lot of people walking around. I'm sure there was a lot of copycat incidents where, like with the crop circles, you get like artificial copycat inspirations. But the original clown stories that came out mostly from the United States, it sort of spread to Britain afterwards. Most of those were very strange. It was more like a kind of Men in Black type thing. Reply to comments 1. Did you ever make a video about Dogoland? I think you mean Doggerland. Is that what you mean? Let's just double check what you're talking about here.
A lot of it really was.
Remember my old webcam, man. Potato. There's my potato cam.
Land. So Doggerland is like a very, very shallow area of the North Sea.
Yeah.
It's one of the last islands to disappear.
And I didn't wear a hat because I didn't have this big light above me in my old room. Oh, wow. Nostalgia, nostalgia, nostalgia. Yes, I did make a video about Doggerland. And I'm able to... Let me see if I can find it. It was... Oh, I can't find it. I can't... Because I don't know which one it was. I know which series of videos it was, but I don't remember exactly what video it was. Red Snapper, it was one of my Truth Seekers Northeast videos. And I don't know which one. I don't have time to look for it now. Yeah, I know. I have time to go and humour Steve mumbling, but... right, reply to comments 1. Did you pay the debts in the end? I know what that's about. No, I didn't. In the end, I just stopped getting these nasty letters. So to give you a bit of background, you can go and look it up. But I've made videos about it and written articles. Basically, in about 2000 and around about 2010, I was missold some credit. And I'm disputing, and I've been disputing it ever since. But I used to get some threatograms from the debt collectors, but they've dried up now. I've got a bad credit rating out of it, but that's all really. Right, Red Snapper says here, 3715 lol. What's this? Oh, it's fine.
Right, give me back my day. Oh, it's more. Mr. Sporkster. Should have been paid in the first place, you wanker. Wonderful. I guess you're really open to... Yes, you're really open to persuasion, aren't you? You're really open to rational discussion, calling me a wanker. I suppose you're going to call me a fatball cunt as well. Let's just get really original, eh? Call me a fatball cunt.
Oh, I just made this point, didn't I? Yeah.
That's another
I can't believe I must have remembered that from years ago, making that point about how people say things about me like, you know, the insults are just so cliche, you know. Yeah. All right. 50. There's another one by Red Snapper here on 1. Let's have a look. Red Snapper, thank you for this little trip down memory lane, Red Snapper. I really appreciate it.
Anyway, thanks for all your comments, guys, and there'll be another one of these coming up soon. I'm going to try and find a way to make this work. I know some of you will say, well, I can't. I'll make a little comment. Do I have to watch this long video just to answer your comment? I'm sorry, but you know, I'm getting to the point where I don't have time to type out the comments.
Oh, right, yeah.
Right? So this is maybe a suitable alternative. It may be a nice compromise. Let me know what you think. I may not choose to carry on with this actually, because it's looking very complicated. But thank you for watching this one. I'm going to be uploading another video in a couple of days because I've had a bit of news which I want to talk about, and it's sad news. And it's not me or my family or anything like that, but it's still...
I can't remember what that was. It can't have been that bad.
I had a bit of sad news when I got home. It appeared when I got home from UFO Truth this afternoon. I love the UFO Truth Conference magazine. A conference, by the way, the UFO Truth magazine.
Yeah, interesting how slapdash the first video was. You did carry on with it. Yes, I did. I went on and carried on for some more. Reply to 1. Jack of the Antarctic was the sad news. That's it, right. Thanks for reminding me. Yeah, I had a message from this guy in Banbury who basically set up the meeting, the first meeting in 2006. And they said, I'm sorry, Jack's passed away. I never knew who he really was, but I did make an entire video called R.I.P. Jack of the Antarctic, I think it was called, which you can find on the channel. I did this little tribute to him and the things he used to talk about with me. I only met him twice, but, you know. Oh, yeah, and indeed, Red Snapper's actually put a comment on that very video. Jack of the Antarctic, R.I.P., yes. Do you think the Nazi bell went to New Swabia, or was it captured by the aliens? I think it was neither. I think it was captured by the Allies, specifically the Soviet Union and the Americans when they invaded that part of Poland. I think it was captured then, along with some of the scientists who've been building it, specifically Hans Kammler, who he disappeared at the end of the war. I suspect he actually ended up probably in the US, maybe in the USSR, but probably in the US, working at one of the secret laboratories under probably a fake name. Yeah, Jack of the Antarctic. All right, here's a timestamp on the same one. 102.59. Here we go.
Yeah. A time might come, I hope, when I will know who Jack is. I know his real.
No, I've heard, literally, I've never heard from him again. I mean, I heard that he died. I've heard no news since, and since that day I haven't been contacted by the middleman. The middleman was someone who lives in Banbury, who was a member of the. At least I think he lives in Banbury. I hope that's not narrowing it down too much. I don't think so. Banbury's a big place. It's Oxfordshire's second city. But he set up the meeting. I had to meet him in Banbury, at Banbury Station, to set up the meeting with Jack, because Jack wouldn't contact me directly. But I've not heard from the middleman since he contacted me to tell me that Jack had died. But I met the middleman on the Dark Conspiracy Forum long ago, way back in the early 2000s, when I started foruming, as you say. I started the Dark Conspiracy. I was actually on the Orlis Forum earlier. I started on the Orlis Forum around about 1998 or so. So I've been a forum guy for a long time. That was the good old forums before Facebook came along. Red Snapper, was Edward J. Ruppelt an influence on you? Not really. I mean, all I know about Ruppelt was from reading Allen Hynek, and I know that Hynek looked up to him enormously, and was, I mean, the actual loss of Ruppelt from the Project Blue Book was one of the things. This is one of the incidents that radicalized Hynek, because Ruppelt was placed by one of these write reports and I need you to write reports and close cases. That kind of person, where Hynek realized that the whole of Project Blue Book was just a part of the cover-up. They were beginning with an a priori conclusion: these things are not real, and Hynek's job was to tell everyone they were not real, and by creating fake investigations. And Hynek refused to collaborate with that. Right, 5647 on Jack. Valuable mineral. Could the Yanks have been? Let's have a look.
He also said something very strange. He said that the Yanks went there, but they weren't just after Hitler. They were after some kind of valuable minerals, but it wasn't coal or oil. But he never really elaborated.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I don't know. I don't know what it was. And even the official story of Operation High Jump says that the whole thing was essentially a quest for. Oh, nearly through an hour. It was a quest for to set up stations where possibly you could mine. This is before the Antarctic Treaty. Although I don't know if it would be economical to mine put up mines in Antarctica when you consider the distance that the transport would have to be, and the amount of money it costs simply to keep the miners alive in that kind of environment. All their food would have to be shipped in. There'd be huge heating bills, obviously, things like that. So I don't know. I don't know is the answer to that. Same video. Red Snapper. Do you ever think of returning to the pubs to get the CCTV so you could have exposed Jack's identity in 06 or 08? Probably be grainy footage, if any. No, for two reasons. Firstly, I think it would be a breach of his privacy, and I don't think they would divulge that information. I think firstly, probably the CCTV recording doesn't exist after close to 20 years now. Secondly, probably the Data Protection Act means that you can't just access it willy-nilly. And thirdly, I think it would probably be an invasion of his privacy. I mean, I know what he looks like. Thing is, all the CCTV will tell me is what he looks like. Also, one of the pubs is gone. The pub in Littlemore, the first one I met him in Littlemore. I showed it to you a couple of times. It's next to the cinema. It's gone. It's closed and it's demolished, which is a shame because it's a really old traditional pub. Right. So there we are. Jack has now passed away anyway. So right. Right. We have reply to comments 2. You're working your way through them, mate, aren't you? You're binge watching my reply to comments videos. 738. Did you get a lot more nasty comments in those days, or does YouTube filter them now?
You think or want something doesn't make it true. Just because you assert something that flies in the face of any kind of logical thinking doesn't mean you open-minded or have contact from spirit. It means you're a fucking nutball, right? I'll just put this in. I'm going to have a word with this chap. And this is going to be a typed comment. McPartridge boy.
Partridge boy, all right. I think you get the general gist, ladies and gentlemen. Did you get a lot more nasty comments, or does YouTube filter them now? No, I get them. I probably get slightly fewer now than I used to, but I still get them, obviously. I mean, obviously you get there's different levels. For example, there's Steve Mumbling nasty, which is pretty mild. He's a bit sarcastic and snide, but he's not a troll. But there's others who say really horrible things to me. I mean, abusing me, calling me names, and I mean, sometimes it gets to the point where people are literally being libelous. In which case, I've had to call the police actually over some of the things that trolls have said, to me. All right, reply to comments 2 again. Are you going to go through them all, Red Snap? 102.32. Is Chris Packham an auto credibility loser? Let's have a look.
Bigfoot in Britain. Mr. Moran 0077. This lost all credibility when you mentioned Packham. Oh right, it's Chris Packham. Oh, I see. Really?
Oh,
so
no, see, no, right, yeah, Chris Packham. I'm not a fan of Chris Packham. He's a carbon cultist, but you know, he did actually take seriously the whole Bigfoot thing. He knew Patterson and Gimlin, and he spoke to them. And in fact, his testimony is actually very important in disputing, along with Paul Veller's. It's very, very important in disputing this common skeptic trope, which is based on a so-called confession by a Patterson, or was it either Patterson or Gimlin? That's his wife dressed in a furry suit, because it's obviously not, because this figure is 6 foot 7 feet tall, as Paul Veller worked out, using and analysing the film and the surrounding area. Now, clearly, if Gimlin or Patterson's wife was that tall and that bulky, I hope he didn't whinge at her if she burned the toast. Anyway, guys, that's an hour done. I'll come back to you very, very shortly. Okay, we're on to hour number 2. I think this is going to be a long one, actually, because I'm not even halfway through yet, about a third of the way through by the look of things. I tend to underestimate these anyway. But that's good. I mean, the more the better, because actually, I'll say more at the end, but this is going to be the last video for a while, a couple of weeks. All right, I'll say more at the end. Reply to comments 2, Red Snapper again, who says here, this is great. Red Snapper is really he's really going to town on my channel. What's this here? Reply to comments 2 again.
well, thanks very much. It's a lovely comment, that. And I got to post him a notice to tell him that I'm doing this video.
I had a bit of a technical glitch there. Is it still working? Yeah, it's still working. There is another way. Yeah, well, that's when I kind of worked it out, didn't I? That was the moment when I kind of came up with the idea of timestamps. Yeah, it's interesting to follow I mean, I'd forgotten this. You see, you're reminding me, man. You're reminding me of you're reminding me of the origins of this project, which is really good. I mean, because I don't have time to go for, you guys know more about my past videos than I do. A Red Snapper says 1946 on 2 lol. Reply to comments 2.
Paul Armstrong on Alan Russ Bridger in Oxford. Right. I feel I must urge caution here. The Rosehill and Iffley Low Carbon Community Action Group are a major plank of the shadowy NWO agenda. As such, I'm not going to take nicely to an infiltrator such as you mocking and exposing them like this. In the coming weeks, you're in a vehicle and the brakes fail, or you're found dead after what looks like a kinky sex game gone wrong.
Oh, Paul, he's gone quiet. Paul Armstrong. I don't hear from him much. I did inbox him the other day and he replied, but he's sort of he's off the scene a little bit, which is a shame. I do miss him. He's fun. As you know, if you watch my Truth Seekers Northeast videos, I even met him once. Reply to comments 2. We have Red Snapper here. You get way more comments. Apologies to all mollusks. Right. Whenever I do this, it sort of messes up my browser for a while.
Early 2012. This was my first ever live show. I did it at the David Icke discussion group in London. Peter May, right. Put a little tag for him. I've met mollusks with more intellect than Ben. Apologies to all mollusks.
Look, you get way more comments, says Red Snapper. Apologies to all mollusks. Yeah, I do. I think the comments have kind of dropped a little bit, haven't they? They really have dropped a little bit, in my view. Right, reply to comments 3. This I uploaded on the 2nd of November 2016. And Red Snapper says the 2016 comments really hit hard. Did the person ever meet you? Right, I think this refers to a troll. Let's have a look.
let's start with the hate mail. All right, I'm going to read this out. It's actually not on one of my videos. It's on one of Miles Johnston's videos. It's the Woodborough speech, the Woodborough bases at Woodborough Hall. All right. This is what I've talked about this in previous videos, but I looked on there and someone has posted this talking about me. It's actually my Helen Duncan lecture at the bases of Woodborough Hall. This weirdo has bigger tits than Terry fucking Wogan. Harry Price and all the other so-called mediums and ghost experts was full of shit.
I didn't know Terry Wogan had big tits. I don't notice these things about men.
And no liar, just like this cockroach, Ben the J.R. Porter. Cockroach. You fat big-headed cunt. I hope you get fucking bone cancer, you coward. Die, you fat lazy cunt. They don't get any worse than that this week, don't worry.
Oh, they do. I had to call the police because they were literally saying, you know, they were literally defaming me, accusing me of, they want to accuse me of like neglecting my child and things like this. I had to call the police.
But I say to this person, I say to all people who leave me messages like this, we'll meet up. I'll make arrangements that we can meet up.
Yeah, right. I get the gist, Red Snapper, and the answer is no. He never met up, and indeed, this has never happened. Every time I've challenged my trolls to say, well, if you want to say these things to my face, come and stand in front of me and say them. You'll come and meet me where I'm at a conference, a future conference. I always tell people in advance where I'm going to be. I'm going to say, I'm going to the next Probe conference. I'm going to Exopolitics Leeds on this date. You come and say these things to my face, and they never do. And of course, Red Snapper, we will always have Watford, won't we? Yes, watch my video confronting Droik. It's one of my most popular and infamous videos ever. Yeah. All right, and reply to comments 3. So yeah, the answer is no. They've never they hurl abuse online, but when it comes to conflict in the real world, they shrink like quivering violets every time. And you know what's sad about it? They don't seem to realize, they don't understand how incredibly feeble and spiteful and despicable and toxic they really are. Red Snap says, do you still keep in touch with Jelly, and was he a good friend? All right, I know what this is referring to. It's my housemate. This is on reply to comments 3. I have actually heard from him a couple of times, mostly through Ahmad and Hossan, my other housemates. And yeah, he's still around. Yeah, he's still around. I mean, I don't know where he is now exactly, but he's still in touch with Ahmad and Hossan. Reply to comments 3, Red Snapper. Do you believe in the beast? The beast of Bodmin is real. Yes. There's so much evidence that exists. There's photographic evidence. There's even footprints everywhere. The Centre for Fortean Zoology has done a lot of investigation into the beast of Bodmin. It is real. It's likely to be a lynx, which, like a big cat, it probably escaped from a zoo. Lynxes are not native to Great Britain, but they've adapted quite well to our habitat. They're pseudo-cryptids, that is a known species outside its normal habitat, but they do attack sheep and other farm animals, and farmers have lost livestock as a result of this. It's real. The beast of Bodmin is real. My guess is it escaped from a zoo. Right, 3 health practitioners against the New World Order. There's a timestamp here. I'll just click it. I'll see what it says here.
I will read about Helen Duncan some more. And HPANDSTNW. I don't know what it means. I think that's health practitioners against the New World Order.
Yeah, that's why not? You can be anything against the New World Order. Reply to comments 3. Space is fake crazy. Always gives me a chuckle. Oh, this is there's a timestamp here. I think I know what this is about, but I'll click the timestamp.
Sure. Space is fake. Why are NASA, Hollywood, and the mainstream media incessantly pushing space and alien propaganda?
All right, yeah. Space is not fake. It does exist. There's a lot of secrets in space. There's a lot of things that are kept from us in terms of space exploration, aliens, things like that. But it does it does exist. Reply to comments 3 says, this is great. I'm seeing how it all began in the replies to comments world. You are indeed, mate. You're doing a tour of my old videos, and it's really cool. It's really great to answer some questions from that. It really is. I mean, this is stuff I always, this is something I always never really, I've never really done is review all these old videos because there's too many of them. Right, Red Snapper says a timestamp here. I don't think I need it. It's on reply to comments 4. Does your position on Bigfoot still stand? Do you believe they are benevolent, and do you still stand up for them? I believe they're real. Benevolent, I'm not so sure. They, in terms of non-human animals, very often most non-human animals do not have a sense of abstract morality the way that humans do. I mean, there's evidence to suggest that some of them do. The great apes, elephants, cetaceans, and things like that. But generally speaking, most species don't. It's possible Bigfoot, being a primate, would have that abstract sense. On the other hand, do I stand up for them? I believe in protecting them because I believe they're in danger. Because the government wants to persuade us they don't exist. It's fun. There's a cover-up related to Bigfoot, which is very, very strangely similar to the one related to UFOs. I mean, it seems strange that would be the case, and people say, well, why? Why would they care? Well, there's reasons for that I describe in other videos, like the British Bigfoot video. I think I mentioned it, and Beast of Lye Valley. And another reason is I've made this point before. Most of these sightings are in North America, and no disrespect to my American viewers, and I've got many of those, but Americans being Americans, the moment it's like generally accepted that Bigfoot exists, what are some of them going to do? They're going to get their double-barrel shotgun out of the cupboard, and they're going to go out into the woods, determined to be the first one to bag one for the shelf. We don't know how many they are. They could be critically endangered for all we know. Right, Red Snap. There's a timestamp which I'm not going to click because he says here, do you believe, there's 2 words here I can't say, and there's another word I can't say, but it consists of 2 words. One is an Italian savory dish, and the other is a device for regulating access to an outdoor enclosure, such as a garden. We put those 2 words together, and that's what I mean. Do you believe these things happened? I'm not sure. This is why I don't talk about them anymore, because I'm not sure. As you know, there was an incident where someone actually did shoot some bullets into a location, which was a restaurant, which turned out that luckily no one was hurt, but it could easily have resulted in deaths. So we've got to be very careful when we say these things, because there's people out there who, let's face it, are not as bright as us. You know. Red Snapper says, is there still a Calexit movement, and do you support it? Well, I'm not American. It's not for me to say, and I'm not from California, even though I've been there, and in fact, I'm just about to go back there. But I'm not actually a Californian person. I know there's a lot of, most of the United States now, more than ever, have like secessionist movements. And unlike the European Union, there is no Article 50 in the US, which means the US Constitution does not allow states to secede. When there was the last time there was a serious effort for secession, it resulted in the American Civil War. It's up to them. I mean, it could be that there will be an amendment at some point, and there will be. And I suspect, actually, depending on how things go, I used to think before Trump came along that the US was on borrowed time. I used to think that it was a fragile federation. It has been a very fragile federation at most times in its history. And I did suspect it would not last another half century. With the advent of Trump, I think their fortune might change. So I don't know. It's up to the Californian people to decide what they want with their own nation. It's up to them. Red Snapper, was the Inner Bookshop a brilliant shop? It was fantastic. It was wonderful. I've done an entire video about it, actually. And it's now a sort of health food place. There is a bookshelf in there, so it's kind of a bookshop of sorts, but it was lovely. It was great. I got all my David Icke books from there. It was rather like Watkins books, where I went to see Anthony Peake. It was like that, but it was in Oxford. Yeah, the guy who ran it, he's retired. He couldn't sell it, so he's retired. Right, reply to comments 4. We got a lol here from Red Snapper. And he says here,
yes, I did. I'm doing it automatically now. That's good. How many more of these are there? I don't know. Big Bad Wolof. Right, that's a good name. Obama is an alien. This is from that thread I had earlier with Alan Lichter talking about Obama being an alien. Kerry just needs the bolts in the side of his neck. I think it means John Kerry.
Oh yeah. He does look a bit like the Boris Karloff's Frankenstein monster, doesn't he, John Kerry? Yeah. Dark Corners UK on Oxford Graffiti 11. Hi, Ben. I finally managed to get my old account back after nearly a year in YouTube prison. Oh, welcome to freedom. I know you have like a backup account, which you have told me what it is, but I'm glad you got this one. I'm glad you got this one out, Dan Dark Corners. Thanks very much. I'm glad you're back. Right, Bobster, you're right. UFO Disclosure 2025, whistleblowers galore. Bobster the Blind Beagle Terrier says, how can you disclose something that is a load of childish garbage? Oh, right, Bob. Right. Even by Steve Mumbling standards, that is pathetic. All right. How can you say that 2 + 2 = 4? Because it's such childish garbage. 2 + 2 = 5, and every sensible, rational, educated person knows that. Right. I've just proved you wrong. 2 + 2 = 5. There you are. Bingo. Yes, it's that is a poisoning the well ad hominem. It's one of those fallacies which I've just demonstrated to you with the 2 + 2 = 4 argument. Neil Peel, the Paranormal Peep Show. Hello. He says, how can you claim to sing and even worse, upload it to YouTube? And Bob says to Neil, you make boring videos no one watches, so long as the viewers die watching them. And what Jim Skin Pivot says here to Neil. This marvelous banter, guys. Marvelous banter. Well, people do watch Neil's videos. I've watched them, and I haven't died watching them. I've lived to tell the tale. I've even been on Neil's videos quite a few times. I'm on his latest one. Come on, Neil, says Jin. I thought personal off-topic attack was an anathema to free thinkers who claim to espouse open debate and benign opinions. Congressional public hearings have now heard that biology, engineering, and other material evidence exists, albeit apparently outside the reach of the in-power administration. This means that the administration is now siding with an extremely small minority who have this material. The in-power administration is impotent against that minority, or the claims are fantasy with no foundation. Right, it's really weird, Jin, because I know you're being sarcastic, but what you said there is completely true. But the administration is not siding with them. The administration is challenging them. Jin continues, we also have to assume that alien visitors come to Earth and not just the USA, and that if they and their craft are captive, then they're okay with that. Otherwise, why don't we have a single government announcing a finding of such technology? That's never hitherto been seen. Yeah, that's a good question, and the answer is, it appears that the nations who have had this experience are complying with a global policy. And so far, every nation which has been in a position to gather evidence of this, and I don't know if it's every single country on Earth, but I know there's a few. For example, my own, the United Kingdom, Russia, many times Russia, and what others? There's Ireland and Brazil. I know those for certain. There's probably others. They have all complied unquestioningly with this global policy, and it's obviously that they could choose to breach that policy, but presumably there is the globalists have imposed very harsh penalties on any nation that does that. But that's a good question. That's a perfectly rational question to ask. Jin continues, material evidence is lacking nearly 2 years after people openly sat in Washington and said it existed, until it appears the claims are garbage. Meanwhile, stop with the ad hominems. Well, Neil, look, Jin, you're criticizing Neil for his ad hominem, right? Whereas you're not criticizing Bobster. Bobster says, called it childish garbage. How can you disclose something that's a load of childish garbage? And then said that Neil made boring videos that no one watches, as long as the viewers die while watching them. So Neil is given as good as he gets, which he's perfectly capable of doing. As for the material evidence lacking, I just can make the same point I made to Steve Mumbling. You know, this is a process that takes time, and you're going to have to be patient. It's not been set up for your entertainment. It's not set up for the titillation of UFO Twitter or to appease the UFO skeptics. And the fact of the matter is that you can't, what you really expect, the very, very first hearing in Congress, someone wheels in a dead alien or a pile of debris from the Roswell crash. It's not going to happen. That's not how these things work. And with Trump in the White House, I think this might speed up because now they have an executive, Congress has an executive on their side, but it's still not something that can be done in a day. I mean, look how the wheels of bureaucracy turn so slowly when it comes to, reforming the railways or things like that. I mean, it's just got to, with this, they're very tentative, so it takes even longer. And we have now a thread. Bobster the Builder says on UFO Disclosure 2025 whistleblowers galore. Up at 4 a.m. Ben. Why? I actually put a comment, and I actually put a text comment on here. But original Dwarn Boy says some of us work shifts, and I said to Dwarn Boy, old hospital portering habits die hard. And David says, tell that to my neighbour. Yeah. Oh, well, but yeah, I had a bit of a late night that night, and I wanted to get it done, you know. And we have UFO Disclosure 2025. Steve mumbling. Get it right, Ben. There are fake whistleblowers galore. If there was anything to their stories, they would be queuing up at Arrow's door to get them verified. Well, Steve, I've answered that in the video. You're making a comment to whose point I've actually answered in the video. So you're making a point. You're making a comment here, which is pre-answered for you. Okay. Grush ran away from Lunar Skiff because he knew he would be revealed to be a science fiction piffle peddler. They all are. It's too obvious for words. These guys must be the clowns you're always talking about. Well, it's not too obvious with words, Steve, because you deliver an awful lot of words about it. But really, you know, these questions I've actually explained. There may be many reasons why. Apparently, now the latest thing is that they were sick. Grush and Elizondo were not in good health at the time. Maybe they caught the same flu off each other. I don't know. But it's not obvious. It's not obvious at all. And again, I answered that in the video. But David Smith says underneath, no, you get what you see with clowns. They're relatively honest. These people are dishonest and or delusional. They're worse than clowns, David. They're worse. Says they're dishonest and or delusional. Well, they're not, David. And I tell you what, a time's going to come when you're going to see it. And I look forward to that day. I really do. Steve says to David, they all know it's rubbish when given the opportunity to put up or shut up skiff with a put up or shut up skiff with Luna and co. They knew they couldn't put up. They knew Luna's skiff had to be derailed. So that's precisely what they did. Well, Steve, that comment hasn't aged well, has it? Because as you know very well, since then, there has actually been a skiff, as I explain in my reply to you. So you've already disproved. I mean, to be fair, you know, you wrote this over 2 weeks ago, so you couldn't know at the time. But this already happened, and it's happened exactly as I predicted it would. I said this is a delay. I mean, these things happen all the time. Your train may be delayed from your train to Perth. You may be waiting on the platform, and the voice announcer comes up and says, sorry, your train to Perth is delayed. They don't always say why. There could be many reasons why a train is delayed. You can speculate on it, and you can say, well, there you are then. Trains don't exist. Or you could say, well, the driver of that train is obviously a PMSL piffle peddling woo-woo. What was it the other words you use? Absolute rubbish, steaming pile person. But you don't, do you? You just say, okay, the train's delayed. There could be many reasons for that. It's the railway's business, not mine as a passenger. They're only obliged to let me know politely and apologise, which they've done. Right, so that answers that one. UFO Disclosure 2025 Whistleblowers Galore. VIX says, is that VI9 or VI9? Looking forward to a time when Earth has a unite and seed where Earth has a unite and seed the stars outlook on life instead of a divide and conquer aspect to it. After all, how do you think we even got here? Yeah, I guess so. Your grammar's not the best, but I understand what you're saying. Yes, you know, it's we have this divide. We have this way that we behave, which it could be just the way we are as people, as a species. In which case, that's human nature. But, you know, we have the ability to think and make decisions. We can overcome that. We can make changes. It won't be us leaving Earth. We will find a planet, aim for it, and send our DNA, Earth's essence samples of everything, get it to crash land in a body of water, then hatch life on that new planet, and allow water to shape life as it does here. If we do that and learn to, over time, create closer, realizing tech to watch it from afar, I just can't help but think strongly that this is exactly what's going on with us, what I can project when I see our capabilities if we were united as a planet, has likely already been done, and we are one result, probably many prime examples. Have a pleasant day. Thanks, VI. You too. And you know what you described there is a kind of like it's what's the word that was used? Projected panspermia. So in other words, rather than like visiting these planets, we just send the way life was theorized to begin on Earth was when certain chemical compounds actually appeared on Earth. Usually, the Earth was hit by a comet that contained them or something, and it was literally like casting seeds onto the planet. Yeah, that's actually true. Although, I mean, and there are people who have, you know, we have actually said there were scientists who suggested we do the same artificially. We send these building blocks of life deliberately to another planet, and that leads obviously to what you've just said here, the theory that possibly life on our planet was created the same way. It wasn't actually a comet, it was some kind of, you know, unmanned projectile that was sent here from another civilization. That's perfectly feasible, but it's kind of redundant when you consider that process just happens naturally anyway. You know, Chandra Wickrama Singh and others have said that, and you know, and it's quite likely that, you know, the universe is naturally evolves in these kinds of chemicals anyway through its natural creative processes. But yeah, good comment, mate. Good comment. Thank you. Art's channel says on UFO disclosure, whistleblowers galore, nothing but a big empty fanny. All right. Well, I don't want to know about your personal problems, but FANI, of course, is the you see, it's the fanny jokes. There's endless fanny jokes. It's Spanish. I don't know what it stands for in Spanish, but it's an alternative to OVNI, because the Spanish have done the same thing as we have. They've replaced UFOs. English speakers have replaced UFO with a UAP, primarily to overcome the cultural baggage of the term UFO. Ironically, the term UFO was coined at the Robertson panel in 1952 for the very same reason. But they've, of course, we woo-woos culturally appropriated UFOs, so now they've got to eat something different. In Spain, it's the same in Spanish-speaking countries. Yeah, but it's not. It's, you know, it's kind of, it's not. See, really, it's the opposite of it. It's a very full fanny, because, you know, this fanny is full of, you know, Harold Malgrim, Matthew Brown, all these other people, you know, all these other whistleblowers. So yeah, there's a lot going on. Same video, plastic pyramid. Oh my God, I'm in for a ride now. The SpaceX spiral has been observed multiple times, earning it a recognized name. Similarly, the SpaceX jellyfish phenomena has sparked similar speculation among those unfamiliar with SpaceX launches. Both have sound-specific explanations that are often predicted beforehand. I've seen videos of both phenomena filmed by people on the ground, visibly unsettled by the sight. Quite amusing to watch. Right, now, as far as the jellyfish goes, I don't know. The so-called spiral has been observed multiple times, but it has been observed in locations where there hasn't been a launch, for example, in parts of China, for example, or even in Western Africa. So it's possible, it could be that certain states of rockets can produce this effect. However, it's obviously there could be something similar produced by other mechanisms. Now, the Norway spiral, for example, was blamed on a Believer missile. But you see, the thing is, the fact that sometimes rockets can produce this effect, it creates a very, very convenient cover-up. So, for example, the Believer missile test, which created the Norway spiral, allegedly, was only mentioned afterwards. This is the thing, you see, you get a lot of like news stories that says, oh, that was this, it was that, it was SpaceX. But you mentioned that these things are predicted beforehand. However, the most recent one that I talk about wasn't predicted beforehand. There's no point where the SpaceX said, all you guys in Western Europe, go outside at 8:05 p.m. and look up and you'll see this amazing free firework display, courtesy of Mr. Musk. Didn't happen. It's not like Elon to miss a chance at publicity, is it? So why is that? Red Snapper, whistleblowers galore. All right, there's a timestamp here, but I don't think I need it. Independence Day is nonsensical. To think jet fighters could challenge UFOs. Independence Day is an appalling film. It's really bad. It's one of the worst films I've ever seen. I would say it's worth watching for one reason alone, which is so you understand the kind of propaganda, more malleable segments of the population, we should say, to put it politely, are being fed. But yeah, it's ridiculous that this Deus Ex Machina, where where Randy Quaid flies his jet into the bottom of the craft, and suddenly you find out it's got a weak spot, and the whole thing blows up like a pack of cards. It's very unsatisfying conclusion. Well, it's an unsatisfying film. As I said, it's utter crap. Red Snapper on Whistleblowers Galore. Marmite, do you love it or hate it? Oh, I love it. I love it. Right, this is 4. Reply to comments 4. Red Snapper. He's going through my old ones again. 122 to 23. It's a timestamp here, which I'll click because I don't know.
Oh no, it hasn't. There we are. Disclosure will only come from the populace, not from the monarch.
Right. Okay. He says, "Do you still believe in the possibility of quote folk disclosure unquote?" Yes, I do. Although it's, of course, we all have nowadays. We've all heard it, but it has a different name. It's known as catastrophic disclosure, which I think is a bad one. I think that's a bad term. I don't like it. I actually prefer folk disclosure to catastrophic disclosure, because catastrophic it implies something pejorative. We don't know that's what it's going to be. Right. Red Snapper. Oh, this is upcoming events. This is another old one. I don't know. I kept this video. I don't know why I didn't delete it, but there you go. It's an old video about upcoming events that are long in the past. Do you believe TIs exist, Ben? Have you faced any targeting? Yes, I believe TIs exist. I've known a few of them. Have I faced targeting? Well, I do believe so. Yes. I mean, for example, what happened to me at the hospital was a form of targeting. Yes. I mean, the false case that was constructed against me is indicative of an order from a higher authority to get rid of me, and they basically had to find an excuse. Yeah. Red Snap on upcoming events. The Google Hangout days. Those were the days. Yeah, I miss Google Hangouts. And it didn't last very long. It lasted a couple of years, and then they lasted a couple of years, and then Google got rid of them. They were very good. They were so simple to use, much easier than Teams or Zoom. Red Snapper says on UFO disclosure 2016 WikiLeaks. Oh, I like this one. This is a video. I'm very fond of. 3831. Are you a UFO buff, Ben? What's this about? Well, oh, here we go. Yeah, leaked Podesta emails encourage UFO buffs seeking declassification in a Clinton administration. Well, yeah, technically, yes, I am. I mean, I am. And Steve Mumbling actually made this point in his video. He meant it to insult me, but I mean, again, it's only telling me what I already know about myself, and I've admitted publicly about myself. I mean, the term UFO buff, it's a bit like saying UFO fanboys or UFO. It's not just Steve who says these things. The news reporters say it. UFO cultists, as Carl Sagan called us, and of course, another one's UFO enthusiasts, and they're avoiding the term ufologist because that just sounds too respectable. But yes, that's exactly what I am. Same video. Do you still believe you have an implant, Ben? Can we get a video update on that, please? I can't give an update really because there's not much more to say. I still have the mark. I don't know if you can see it. The mark is still there, but I haven't actually had a scan or anything like that since. I've decided just to let the whole thing go. Right, now I can't actually. There's a timestamp here, which is for UFO disclosure WikiLeaks. I can't actually click it because it's actually something which, and as I said here, if I uploaded this video today, I'd lose it. I say something very politically incorrect. Red Snapper says you probably will anyway at some point. Some automatic retroactive algorithms. That's correct. They may well delete this video at some point. In fact, the activity on it caused by your comment may actually red flag it. Now, that's not just a criticism or an accusation of you. In fact, you shouldn't. I love your comments. Your comments are great. Don't hold back from putting them on there. I don't see why anyone should not comment on my video. I'm not going to ever tell people don't comment on my videos because YouTube are being such dickheads. Go ahead. I mean, I've got it backed up on 3 other locations. If it goes, it goes. But yeah, I mean, it could be it'll disappear at some point. What I won't get though is a strike because it's an old video, which is why I won't click that timestamp and why repeat what I said there. I mean, it wasn't, it was, I make the point in there that, it's not, it's just like certain types of language you can't use now, regardless of the context. Whistleblowers galore. Nothing as it seems. Hello, nothing as it seems. How are you? Who says here, answers as to why the skies look horrible. High air traffic. England is a major hub for international flights, leading to a high volume of aircraft in the sky. Cold, humid conditions. The atmosphere at high altitudes over England is often cold and humid, ideal for contrail formation. Low wind speeds. Calm winds allow contrails to persist and spread, making them more visible. Nothing as it seems. Did you get that from ChatGPT? Right, that's... Right, I've done several videos actually explaining this. And I know I keep saying that. Well, I've covered this before on this video or that video, but it's to save me from repeating myself. Can I ask you to go and watch that particular video, and then like one of my heatwave videos or storm apocalypse videos and things like that, where I describe exactly how this doesn't quite make sense. It doesn't make sense. The kind of effect you get from aircraft trails doesn't make sense if you believe the official story of how they form. That is, it's just a mixture of water vapor and soot. It doesn't make sense because you can't get these last for hours and they spread out and they grow. And the government admitted they want to do it now. Oh, Halloween and Ouija. Oh, nice. I love this. This is a lovely video. I read out my story. 9:55. Scary stuff, says Red Snapper. What's this? And
Oh,
that's yeah. That's let me just show you. That's me dressed up as a vampire. Here we go. Yeah. Remember this?
oh.
Oh my god! Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Right, this is Halloween and Ouija, the last lefty hotel, if only. Yeah, I was pretty good in that vampire costume, wasn't I? That's this one here. Let's have a look.
Ringing bell by the butler of the aptly named The Last Left Hotel.
Oh right, that's the poem by Sophie the Porter's poet. Yeah, yeah, that was good. That yeah. Halloween and Ouija. Red Snapper 1:16:01. We've got a timestamp here. I'm glad you're enjoying this video.
Is there a drink called Woo Woo? A blend of cram. Oh yeah, you in the story. Woo Woo's in the story, of course.
Yeah, look.
I didn't know there was a cocktail called Woo Woo, ready to drink. Right. A blend of cranberry juice from concentrate, peach schnapps, and
that was Sophie the Porter's poet. Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? And there's one. Oh, spooky old hen. All right, is that a? What's this here?
Spooky hen, fine. Of course, spooky hen. Special Halloween bottle.
Oh, yeah, it's old speckled hen, but they've made it spooky hen instead, especially for Halloween. Yeah. Right. Whistleblowers galore. Proselytizing Orthodox Penty. Right. I thought you're the same person as proselytizing Orthodox Pentecostal trans rabbit. I think you are, aren't you? They've shortened your name slightly in the replies. Ben, 40 years from now, could 2065 be the year of disclosure? Oh, you're getting a love heart for that. You know why proselyte? You know why, rabbit? Because you actually think I'll still be alive then. How old will I be? I will be very old if I'm still alive then, but I could be technically. Yeah. Right, new Pope live stream, first to the replay at least, says Neil Peel. And yes, you get your gold tinfoil hat. And Red Snapper gets the silver. Yay. Right. Oh, vaping cat. All right, this is where I make the joke about the guy's vape. What's it? Here we go. That's this. He certainly picked up some sort of accent a bit. Yeah, he's American and he speaks like with an American. Yeah, vaping cat. That was the name of the user. It's very funny. Yeah. Right, new Pope live stream. Is Breaking Bad your favorite series? No, but it's very good. I mean, I had never heard of it, and then Tina, another blonde, introduced me to it. She actually lent me. We watched a couple of episodes, and then I went out and bought the DVDs. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good series. Red Snapper says, is he the first dual citizen pope? I don't think so, no, because popes tend to be quite cosmopolitan people. Popes often travel a lot. They tend to be linguists, multilingual. So they usually speak at least half a dozen languages or so. And they spend so much time abroad, they are very often awarded citizenships to various places. Hugo Rune says on New Pope, hi, Ben. Hey, Hugo, how you doing, mate? Good to see you. Hugo, this is not live. It was 19 hours ago. I'm confused. Hugo, you must be halfway through your tin, aren't you? Because you only say that when you've had a few. Of course, it's not live. You're watching it after it went live when you didn't watch it, and then afterwards the recording. It formed a recording, and like all live streams, it creates a recording, a replay situation, and you're watching the replay. Hugo says on Pope live stream, I spoke French, German, Dutch, and Portuguese. All right. I think you mentioned another one, didn't you? Yeah. Hugo says Walob, W-A-L-O-B. What does that mean? It's all in capitals. Does that stand for something? Is it some kind of acronym? Walob. I don't know what you mean, Hugo. You must be at the bottom of the tin when you wrote that. Right, Apollo Detectives 12, Steve Mumbling special. Oh, right. This is fun. This is great fun. Let's have a listen to what he has to say.
That's entertained. Steve, which part of Australia do you live?
Well, I live just outside of Perth, Western Australia.
All right, okay. And what sort of car do you drive?
I'm not going to tell you that. That's one of the things. It's an open question that I leave out there for the people that claim remote viewing. I have.
Steve, you drive a Holden. You told me that, and you actually show it in some of your videos. Holden, classic home-built Australian car. And this is another text. This is another text comment. Apologies for the lack of activity on the channel this week. What was it? What did I say here? I can't remember what I said here. Anyway. Lionel H. Ricketts says Dave Elms Melksham misses you. Oh, right. Well, Dave, I don't know who you are, but I'm sorry if you have missed me. I'm back now, but you know, it's like I'm going to be funny. I should warn you in advance, Dave, if you're watching. I'm going to be away after this particular video. There's going to be nothing for over 2 weeks probably. So just let you know. That's because I'm going to Contact in the Desert. There will be a reportage after that, though, probably called Ben in the Desert 2. Definitely. Right, ET Disclosure, a second reply to Steve Mumbling. Hugo says, first, can I take my medal? Honestly, gold tinfoil hat, says Red Snapper. Yes, honestly, Deal, you're developing more gold medals than a bloody, than an Olympic champion. Same video, Sorenable. Hello, Ben. Of course I'm here. I could not miss this video. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Soren. I'm glad you got back because I saw you commenting on Mumbling's channel. I thought, come back to mine because you haven't commented on mine for ages. Same video, Rick Horden. Hey, Ben, I'm listening at double speed and Steve seems to have invented a new alien language. 14. Oh, right. Yeah. Double speed. Yeah. Rick Horden. Yeah. I mean, you've got a timestamp here, but I've already played an example of what happens to Steve Mumbling. If you speed him up and then speed up the video where I speed him up, you get a compound of speeds, which is actually quite amusing. And as I said, when he's babbling like that at like 3 times or 4 times speed, he actually makes more sense. Right. Joshua says on Pope Health livestream, this is the previous one I did about the Pope. Ralph Fiennes looks well stressed in that picture. Yes, he does. That's the still from the trailer where he's mourning the death of the Pope, and he's very upset about the death of the Pope. DJ B2 says on ET Disclosure, second reply to Steve Mumbling. I did a previous reply video to Steve Mumbling on ET Disclosure, didn't I? DJ B2 says the term psionic was used in the computer game UFO Enemy Unknown, also known as XCOM UFO Defense, which was originally released in 1993 to 1994. All right, so that's where it comes from. A lot of UFO cultural memes were embedded into the game, such as Element Illurium 115 and Gray's Sectoids, etc. The game is available on PC either way, very cheaply via stream on other platforms like abandonware sites. Oh, brilliant, mate, brilliant! Because I'll have to play that because it's a lot. That's a good thing about a lot of these old computer games, right? They're just like in the public domain essentially now. And in fact, I'm trying to get. I'll probably when I switch to Windows 11, I'm going to have to probably get hold of a bootleg version of Dangerous Waters. Because it's not produced anymore. I don't think the creators even exist anymore. But running it on more and more advanced operating systems is getting more and more difficult. But it's such a good game. I mean, a lot of these old games, like Dangerous Waters from 2002, a lot of these old games, like they're very crude compared to modern games, but they're such good fun. A lot of them are a lot better. All right, and Steve Mumbling says, underneath in reply, video games and the TV serials The X-Files are the root of all this twaddle. Well, actually, Steve, it's the other way around. And it's not twaddle, it's the other way around. The X-Files and a lot of these computer games actually have research. They have researchers that actually model their productions on real-life UFO lore. I mean, I call the X-Files our personal creation myth, and it is in a way, but it's like many myths, it's based on reality. No, Chris Carter, he learned a lot about the UFO situation, and it's like going back to Close Encounters, as I've said. Bill Nye the Science Guy. Was it Brian Dunning? Brian Dunning. Don't drop your Occam Award in the showers, Brian. Yeah, that one. Brian Dunning said, that basically no one saw grey aliens before Close Encounters, because that invented the grey alien meme. But then, seeing as Robbie Graham, the guy sadly passed away at a young age, he contacted the production designer of that film, and he says, "Where did you get the idea for those grey aliens that we see coming out of the mothership?" And he says, "Very simple. I spoke to J. Allen Hynek, who's a consultant for the series, the guy who appears very briefly in that scene, and he put me in touch with some of the people who see them." So you see, it's putting the cart before the horse. Dunning has literally put the cart before the horse here. The aliens you see in Close Encounters are actually they're not the source of the grey alien meme. They are based on the real meme, the real thing. Second reply to Mumbling again. DJ says, "It seems the mumbler has been sniffing the fumes of his self-produced steaming piles. Maybe eat more fiber, Mr. Mumbling." Yes. And the original Dwarn Boy says on the same video, "This mumbling guy is certainly a fast talker, if not a fast walker." I don't know if that's meant to be a joke, Dwarn Boy. If so, it's very witty, because a fast walker is actually the code that the military used to use for a UAP. There's actually a documentary called Fast Walkers, which is very good. You see lots of people like Paola Harris and Dr. Michael Salla and people like that, and they look so much younger. It shows how long they've been involved in this. Teddy Bear Leem says on DT Disclosure Mumbling, "Why would a UFO want to bring down an aircraft to prove they are real? What an arse." Right, well, I think you're an arse, Teddy Bear Leem, because you don't automatically know that and know the answer, you see. The answer, I mean, to be honest, like, who knows? Maybe they're retaliating. As I said in the video, referring to Harold Malmgren, if we're initiating violent action against these UFOs, that's pretty bad, isn't it? Because because they could retaliate. Apart from the moral issue, I mean, they could retaliate, and they can deliver far more force than we can. Red Snapper, 7th on the same video. 7th. Do I get a tinfoil hat? No, I'm afraid not. But you do get a mention in dispatches. Right, Mumbling again. Red Snappers. Oh, right, this is referring to, I know, this is referring to Steve Mumbling talking about Stanton Friedman, and I have a go at him for it. What do I say here? I think I was angry with him about that.
Claimed stint at S4. It's because he's not a physicist. Stanton Friedman, one of my favourite frauds. He said,
"You leave Stan alone." Stan was a gentleman and a scholar, and we don't think disagree with him if you like. but you can't question his integrity and his honesty. He really, really wanted to get to the truth, and that's, yeah. Am I one of Stan's staunchest defenders? Yes, I am. That guy is an absolute gem. Right, Gin Skin Pivot says on Steve Mumbling here. This is I better check the time. I've got 10 minutes to go. I've got a feeling this comment might use up all those 10 minutes. A prime example of your double standard, Ben. MH370 attacked by ETs. Free energy exists, even though it flouts the laws of thermodynamics. Well, it doesn't actually. Look at the Casimir force. Look at 0-point energy. ETs have a permanent presence here, and they have done for as long as anyone can remember. That's what I said. Yes. Right. And so this is a double standard, is it? Right. I'm sure you're going to explain to me why that is. Is this on supposition and hearsay, Ben? Because I think material evidence for any of the above, if known by you, would also be known more widely in academia. And if MSM are being silenced on these matters, where are you getting the information besides hearsay? And how is it you can speak of such things so assertively with impunity? Methinks it could be because it's garbage. No. The reason it's not more widely in academia is because academics have to pay rent like everyone else. And academics get into terrible trouble for talking about this. And as for the mainstream media, I'm getting again, many people in the MSM are essentially the same. They are in a position where they have to say and do certain things in order to stay within the system, which allows them to live and to prosper. You know, as was it João Magueju said. I mean, he wasn't a woo-woo. João Magueju is not a woo-woo. He's like just a physicist. And he said, when he first came out with his new theory to do with Einstein's cosmological constant, in the documentary Einstein's Biggest Blunder, he said, you know, I was a bit worried rather than sitting in the faculty of Trinity College, Cambridge, I might end up selling the big issue outside the gates. Why? Are new ideas not welcome in science? Obviously not. Where am I getting my information from? And it's not just hearsay. It's from very, very dedicated researchers. Some of it is hearsay. Some of it is witness testimony. But a lot of it is based on field research. And if you watch this channel regularly, you'll know that I sometimes contact those people who are involved in field research. I've even taken part in some field research myself. These are people who are not under the same pressure as, you know, the Mariana Springs of this world and other people. That's why. He carries on. That said, Apollo, despite I know where you're going with this. Despite all types of evidence, up to and including physical proof, global acceptance over 3 generations of PhDs, third-party evidence, and repeatability, maybe a series of hoaxes. Right? You've made this. We have discussed this before, Jin. You're saying this is a double standard. And I understand why you say that now, but I have explained to you why, and I hesitate to repeat myself. But you know, I have put forward reasons why I doubt the Apollo moon landings, and also reasons why many other people don't doubt them. And it's not just about evidence. I mean, I'd love to live in a world where science could draw these perfect circles wherever it went of rationality and logic. But no, science does not exist in that kind of vacuum. It does not exist in a political intellectual vacuum. It exists in a political intellectual landscape in which certain ideas have to be accepted without evidence and others have to be dismissed without evidence, and for political and cultural reasons, and also psychological, you know, group psychology, things like that. I have explained this before. On the other hand, when it comes to UFOs, for the very, very same reason, I think they are real, because the evidence for it exists and has been collected by people who are not under that kind of pressure. And, you know, I won't go into more details because I have already answered this point. So how is it Apollo hoaxes sit rather flimsily claims never... All right, okay. While the sit on rather flimsy claims never supported with tangible evidence, while all the other evidence is ignored. Okay, well, I should have read that bit before answering you, because that's... And again, these are separate paragraphs, but really you could have put them in the same paragraph, because you say here, and conversely, how is it you believe in free energy ET presence, actual ET attacks, based on little more than putting the words in the right order? Well, as I said, that's... Oh, and you mentioned automatic space probes topple off of... All right, okay. I missed a paragraph there. But basically, those two last paragraphs really fit into the third one. The fourth paragraph. Automated space probes topple over for the same reason Teslas have had hundreds of crashes in autopilot mode, Ben. The lack of a driver in control to see impending hazards and avoid them. So really, I mean, are you saying that NASA and these various other space agencies, you know, are using the same artificially intelligent navigation and piloting systems as some cheap hatchback from your local showroom? Can't they do something better after all this time? It's not exactly rocket science. Well, ironically, it is rocket science landing a craft on the moon. But surely, after what 50, almost 60 years, they might have mastered it by now. Anyway, good comment there, Jen. Even though you sort of repeat a lot of points you made before. English TK says on Mumbling ET Disclosure. Stake your reputation on Disclosure 2025. Stake anything but your impeccable reputation, Ben. Right? I don't know if I don't know you being sarcastic or not, but either way, you know, I will on the 31st of December this year. If nothing's happened, I invite you all to come and do a victory dance all over my comment sections. All right, you do it. I am. There's no. I don't have a cope here. You go and do it. All right. But I've got a feeling I'll be the one doing a victory dance. And Steve Mumbling says in reply to that, it's about as meaningful. That's about as meaningful as James Fox staking his credibility on the Virginia UFO being real. FFS. All right. Steve, James is absolutely right to do that. His video, as you know, I've done an entire series of videos. I've done about a dozen videos on this subject. And I think James is right. I like his movie is excellent. You get it. It's a freebie on YouTube now. Do you know, James Fox is such a grifter. He's such a money-grabbing whore that, you know, his videos, all his recent documentaries, fell into like kind of distribution hell. And he was left with like 200 grand in debt and no choice except to put them as freebies on YouTube. Yeah, I mean, James Fox is such a criminal mastermind, isn't he? At no point has he thought about selling dodgy double glazing or painting over the rust in secondhand cars. No, he's going to make UFO videos that lose him $2.5 grand, £250,000, £250,000, £250,000. That's it, isn't it? Yeah. Excellent logic, Steve. Excellent logic, as always. Sarcasm alert. Right, disclosure. Red Snapper. What do you get from the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance and how much is it? All right, well, to be in the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance, you simply have to have produced something, published something. It could be a movie, could be a book, or something like that. And then we pay a little fee. I won't say how much it is, but it's a minor fee. It's much less than what you pay for an annual subscription to Sky TV or something. And then you get to join the alliance, and you are kind of part of this thing. And Steve invited me because of my books. And what you get for it is you get to join that. You just get to take part in several private. Well, they have meetings and meetups and things, which are a long way away. But although they are having one at Contact, which I hope to attend. Normally, I'd be too far away because most of these are Americans. But you get to, and you get like the newsletter. They have a newsletter called the Wow Signal, which I think you can get I think you can get if you're a non-member. Actually, I think if you sign up to their mailing list, you actually get you get sent this even if you're not a member. Yeah. Right, Mumbling, Red Snapper. What's the most you've ever donated to anti-gravity? I think you mean anti-gravity research. I think I slipped a tenner to, who was it? I think it might have been Richard. It was not Richard D. Hall. Who was it? Someone had a project to build one of these things, and I slipped him a tenner. What was it? I don't know. I can't remember. But I did. It's not a king's ransom. I didn't give a king's ransom to them. Right. Taff Derek Baker says on Steve Mumbling. Hey, how you doing? My second watch. Cheers. Oh, you're welcome, Derek. Thank you very much. I've spoken to Derek actually. He goes to Sufon. And Mumbling now has put it, as I expected, has always put a comment on there. You can't resist it, can you, Steve? There would be no point to any piffle peddlers bringing their stories to you. You can't verify them. I don't agree, Steve. I think they would come to me because I think I have a reputation for honesty, and I'm not like on the make over this. And it's very obvious I'm not in the make over this. And I have a platform which is large enough to reach enough people, I think. Arrow was set up specifically to look into this and find out if there was any substance to it. No, they're not. Arrow was set up for the same reason as Project Blue Book, as a distraction, as a way the government can say, look, we're doing something about this, while they're not doing anything about it. In fact, doing the opposite. That's why, as J. Allen Hynek actually said himself, they're clear to hear any testimony to look into any compartment in any program. They have, and there's nothing to it. All right. No, firstly, the officials at Arrow are not always honest, and secondly, they're not cleared for every single compartment. They can attend skiffs on certain subjects. Your fanboys were screaming for a department to be set up to look into this, and you have one. Oh, yeah, Mick West made this point. Well, you wanted this. You wanted an investigation. Now you've got one and you're not happy? Oh, there's no pleasing you lot, is there? Well, no, we wanted a department which was essentially described in the AD book by Bryce Zabel and Richard Dolan. That is a Department of Extraterrestrial Affairs, not just another Project Blue Book under a new name designed to obfuscate and suppress and bury. You dismiss their findings because you don't like what they're hearing, what you're hearing. No, I've explained this to you before in other videos. I dismiss their findings because the findings are incorrect. And I give reasons why I think that. There's zero tangible evidence for any ET involvement in the disappearance of MH370 and Frederick Valentich and the crash of Captain Thomas F. Mantell. With Mantell, it's a little bit more dubious because Mantell's crash may well have happened because the aircraft, he flew his Mustang P-51 above the aircraft's regular service ceiling, so he flew a little bit too high. But he was chasing an unknown object. He'd been dispatched from the Kentucky Air National Guard to investigate a UFO. It was a very large object that was seen hovering above the area, and he actually wasn't supposed to do this. This was against regulations, but he decided to try and get a bit closer to it. Now, it's possible that, in fact, it's quite likely that the reason he crashed was because he essentially became unconscious from altitude sickness. Like mountaineers do, you get to, there's a lot of people who die on Mount Everest, for example. They don't fall and die. They're not actually the victims of accidents. They get overwhelmed by hypoxia because of the high altitude, the thin air, and they just sit down and freeze to death. A lot of them die that way because they just sit down because they lose their mind, and they sit down and they just freeze to death. And Mantell could be the same thing. MH370, unlike Ashton Forbes, I think it's more likely this is ET involvement, although Ashton might be right. He might be right about the orbs being secret technology. Fred Valentich, there's distinct evidence to suggest, considering his final radio messages and what he was reported seeing, and then the plane crashes, or the plane either disappears because it's taken, or it crashes into the sea, because he was flying over the Bass Strait, and it's possible that the plane actually just crashed into the sea and sank without trace. Either way, UFOs were responsible for that. This is why fanboys like yourself can't be chosen to interface with witnesses. Yes, we can, because unlike Arrow, we don't dismiss stuff. Everything, however fanciful, would be down to ET. No, not necessarily. If I think something's not ET, I'll say so. As I said with Mantell, it's possible that the UFO was only an indirect cause of his death. I don't believe he was shot with he was with blasters or ray guns from the UFOs. It's likely he simply passed out and the plane crashed. Yeah. We want facts, not fairy tales. So do I. When they find MH370 exactly where the Whisper guys say it is, as I'm sure they will, are you going to take your ridiculous videos on the subject down? No, I won't. What I will do is I will admit I was wrong. If they provide evidence that this is the real airframe and not something they planted, I will admit I was wrong. But no, I don't take videos down just because I don't think about them anymore. So no, I won't. But I will, honestly, if I'm wrong about this, I will admit I was wrong. Steve Mumbling says again here on the same video, my reply to him. How am I doing for time? Oh, I'm a bit over. Better stop. Okay, guys and gals, on to our number 3. What have we here? Right. So we now come on to another Steve mumbling comment. Oh, he can't resist it. He's on a roll. He's on a roll. He's really getting into his stride here. Your free energy comments are precisely why it's pointless you doing these reply videos. Well, I don't agree, Steve. I think there's a great point in doing these videos. It's a way of analysing what you say, seeing as we sort of got in touch with each other and disagreed. Secondly, it's very entertaining for my viewers, and it gives me a lot of satisfaction. Because that's just 3 to begin with. I'm sure there are more. You swallow all this science fiction rubbish, hook, line, and sinker, and repeat it as truth. Oh, here we go. Don't tell me you're going to accuse me of deleting your comments now, aren't you? I know you too well. There's no such thing as free energy. Yes, there is. Nothing in nature is free. Well, the Casimir force, gravity. I mean, Action Forbes talks a lot about this. And alien scientists and people like that. Reading from a book you wrote yourself and then saying it's true is ludicrous. Can't you see that? No, because that scene in Roswell Rising, a novel of disclosure, available all good bookshops now, priced £10, is actually based on real life research that I did. The book is allegorical. My story, the Roswell trilogy, is an allegorical series of novels, so it's based on reality. If free energy were real, which it certainly isn't, the oil companies would be exploiting it. Yeah, that's right. I can knock on the door of Royal Dutch Shell. Come in. Hello, Mr. Chairman of Royal Dutch Shell. I'm just here to tell you your services are no longer required. But don't worry, you can branch out into other areas. You know, Shell candles. You need oil to make candles. Yeah, just imagine that. Shell candles. They're pretty colours. They smell nice. They won't stain your wallpaper. Yes, there's a lot of dollar on that, isn't there? Shell candles. By the way, that's a piece of dialogue from my novel as well. So they wouldn't know. Of course they wouldn't, Steve. They wouldn't exploit it. At a higher level, it's about more than just the survival of the oil companies. Is to do with the fundamental economics and culture and psychology of this planet under the New World Order. It will be free to the people. We wouldn't have to buy the devices and convert it into something we can use to pay BP or Tesla a subscription to be able to use it. Correct, which is why one of the reasons they're suppressing it. BP are heavily invested in solar power. Why aren't they suppressing that? Because solar power is another way. Firstly, it can't replace fossil fuels. It's not practical. Secondly, it has the same ability to. It has the same, in a sense, the same psychopolitical outfit as fossil fuels does. In a sense, it still allows the government to control and ration power. Sure, they say, well, the sun is free energy. Yeah, okay. Well, try putting in enough solar panels on your house, right, to meet all your house's electrical needs, and you need a lot of them to do that. You need a very big garden, probably bigger than the one you have. And then say to the government, okay, say I want to disconnect now from the national grid. They'll say, no, you're not allowed to do that. You can generate your own electricity and charge the grid, but you're not allowed to disconnect from the national grid. Why is that? So they are suppressing it. If they wouldn't, they'd just be quite happy with people microgeneration. They'd be quite happy with microgeneration otherwise, and they're not. As Steve says, only 30 minutes in, and it's just nonsense. I'm not sure I'll watch the rest of it. Yeah, well, I was about 4 minutes into your 11-minute video, and I decided I wouldn't watch the rest of it. And where are we now? He's got a whole thread here. And Red Snapper says, watch it all. You have to respond intelligently, not ad hominem. What about the Baghdad battery? And Steve says, thanks for standing up to me. Thanks for standing up for me here, Red Snapper. I appreciate it. Having Ben respond intelligently would be a good start. That's not what we're seeing here, is it? When his responses are absolute rubbish, there's not much I could do with them. And Steve Mumbling says, what about it? And then Red Snapper says, the battery is powerful evidence of an ancient power source. Yes, it is. They even put lemon juice in it, and they actually charged it up. I remember the archaeologists. Yes, it's evidence of an ancient power source. It's evidence of a crude understanding of a low power source for electroplating. That doesn't indicate it's ancient advanced technology. Well, considering it was created at a time when Faraday was messing around with his wires and things, you by that definition of the expansion of technology, you could well believe that by probably the 1st or 2nd century, we would have a level of technology that we have now. In fact, that thing by Helen Dale, I mean, that Helen Dale book, which I didn't review, but I read it. I read it and sort of talked about it on the Ben's bookcase because it was relevant to my own novels, which are alternative histories, is about that. Now, there's many reasons why that didn't happen. For example, Archimedes being killed, which is Helen Dale's thesis in her Alt History. Secondly, of course, the fact that the Romans didn't abolish slavery, therefore the price of labor remained low, so automation wasn't necessary, hence no industrial revolution. But in the secret society network, that doesn't happen. And Steve says to reply to, he said that, right? Steve, and Red Snapper says, my comments are disappearing for some reason. Red Snapper says to Steve, stop deleting my comments. All right, Red, now, it's not often. Funny enough, I just predicted that Steve Mumbling would accuse me of this, and you're accusing, well, not me. You're accusing Steve of doing it, right? Steve cannot Steve can only delete his own comments on another person's channel. You can't delete other people's comments on another person's channel. Only the channel owner themselves can delete all comments. Unfortunately, Red, for some reason, this happens a lot with all of my commenters. Sometimes people write them and they just disappear. They just don't show up. And that's one of the bugs of YouTube that we've never sorted out. It's not anyone's fault apart from the tech team at YouTube. All right. The good thing idea is just put them in a notepad or something first before you post them. It's a good idea to do that, especially if it's a long and detailed comment. Right. ET Disclosure, second reply to Steve Mumbling. Rhiannon Raven. Hello. Hi, Rhiannon. How are you? I saw Rhiannon the other day. She exists. Yes, Gary Robinson exists, and Rhiannon does too. I must say, it's very naive of Mr. Mumbling to expect Bob Lazar to go to the government to verify that he used to work for the government, when a fundamental part of Bob's claim is that the government have covered up the fact that he worked for the government. Well, that's fair enough, Rhiannon, but I mean, there's a little bit more. I mean, for example, Stanton Friedman discovered he couldn't find anyone at MIT or Caltech who remembered him. He also didn't appear in any of the yearbooks, things like that. I mean, that it wouldn't be possible to suppress that much information. So I think part of Bob, I think, may have made that up to sort of boost his credibility, which is a mistake. I think he should have just been honest, because it's too easy for people to find him out. Once he's caught lying about one thing, people just say inevitably he's lying about everything. She carries on. I would have expected Mr. Mumbling to come up with a better criticism than that. Oh, not me, Rhiannon. I know him too well. Also, I do wonder why Mr. Mumbling keeps watching and commenting if he thinks it's all nonsense. He must be getting something out of it. You know, Steve he's like those two old guys in the private box at the Muppet Show. You know, why do we always come here? I guess we'll never go. It's really kind of torture to have to watch the show. Yeah, it's like he's my ultimate hate watch, isn't he? Maybe he's just high in disagreeableness and likes complaining. Oh, that's true. The metallic sphere reminded me of the Betts family mystery sphere. Yes. Have you ever done a video about that case, Ben? No, but I did mention it in this particular video that it reminded me of the Betts sphere here. Wikipedia have it down as a hoax, which is not. Maybe I should do an entire dedicated video about it, 'cause it's a fascinating case. It's similar to Ross Coulthart and like the big thing he found as well, from that other guy. Excuse me. Reminded me of the film The Glitter Ball, where two boys help an alien shaped like a disco ball to find his spaceship. I would have suspected the Betts family of being inspired to fake their ball by the film, except the mysterious sphere appeared in their garden in 1974, and the Glitter Ball film came out in 1977. Those birds getting on your nerves in the background are crows, Ben. Sent to keep an eye on Mumbling. My messengers are everywhere, wink, wink. That's right, of course, the crow spirits. I should have guessed that, Rhiannon, yeah. I see Mumbling. Oh, no, sorry, there's a thread here. Apologies. David Smith says underneath, yep, because the government is just one small thing. Well, a government of a nation is, but governments aren't, well, apart with some exceptions, the national government's answer to a higher world government. One of the exceptions, interestingly, being the United States at the moment. And lab-based says underneath, even black budget off-books employees have to pay taxes, Bob just needs to show his bank statements when he was employed by big government, and maybe even simpler in the US, his tax return for when he claims to have been employed by the government. Well, he did show a pay slip lab-based. I don't know if that's actually as good. Steve Mumbling says here on the same video, all these, there we go. All these whistleblowers are fake. No, they're not. Anyone can come forward with science fiction stories, just like Philip Corso. Yeah, I know. But Philip Corso was fake. He was talking crap. And it's possible to work out that Corso was talking crap, whereas the same rules you apply to Philip Corso's testimony and you apply to others, you don't get the same result. So isn't that the basis of science? Same method, different results. Any whistleblower should have their information vetted by Arrow and confirmed to be fact before being presented to Congress. Yes, every UFO story has to go through Project Blue Book, an outfit that was set up specifically to debunk genuine cases. None of them will talk to Arrow because they know they will be found out to be bullshitters very quickly. Arrow tried to get Grush to come out many times. Oh, hang on, here we go. Appointment to go and see him. Lunar Skiff didn't turn up. All bullshit. Knocking at Arrow's door to get his story verified. You think I should make time to... I've covered all this before, Steve. You think I should make time to make videos, but you don't think Grush should make time for Lunar Skiff or talk to Arrow. Why is that? Well, I don't think that. That's not what I said. I think he should make time, and he has. I mean, look, you wrote this 6 days ago. You know by now, Steve, that skiff did take place, and there was going to be a hearing later than originally scheduled, but it will happen. You know that now. So yeah, I mean, all the rest. I've already covered the rest of it. You're repeating yourself. The reason he doesn't want to knock on Arrow's door is because he doesn't trust them, and he's right not to trust them. I expect Coulthard has actually advised him of that. Right, timestamp here on that the Mumbling video. What is it here? 1:57:42. It's something about X-Files. He said, God, I'm just about to watch the X-Files for the first time in my life. And I thought, what? All right, yeah. And the Red Snapper says, is the X-Files your favorite every? I think you mean my favorite program. It's one of them, yes. And I was surprised that Jay Anderson has actually not watched it before. I mean, it's like walking into a church and finding the vicar there, and he says, the Bible? What's that? I've never read it. It's literally like that. I hope he enjoyed it. I might see Jay, actually, because he's probably going to be at Contact. I met him last time. Do you remember? I met him last time. Arts Channel. Mumbling loves his own jokes. And Steve Mumbling says underneath, someone has to. Brilliant rejoinder, Steve. Yeah. Yes. ET disclosure, a second reply to Steve Mumbling. Arts Channel says, they keep pushing the Artemis moon landings. Will not happen. Right, well, it's funny you should say that, Arts Channel, because, I mean, it's weird you should say this, and it seems a bit contradictory, because I also believe they won't happen. But according to the Angry Astronaut, who's actually now really pro-UFO, they've actually moved them forward to February next year, although as I think they'll find another reason to... I think they'll find another reason to delay them, but we'll see. But they have actually moved. They have actually sort of sped up the schedule. I still think that doesn't mean they're going to happen. But they did push them back an awful lot before then. Steve Mumbling says in reply to that, Trump wants to put the first woman on the moon before the Chinese, so the Artemis missions will probably go ahead. Of course, all the NASA fake to the moon landings nutters will be screaming fake, even if the Chinese put their woman on the moon first. Well, should that eventuality take place, whether it's China or the US, let's just see what happens. Because Steve, I won't claim the Artemis moon missions are fake if there is real evidence that they happen. And in this day and age, with modern technology, especially like the advancements in radio astronomy and radio scanning and things like that, it'll be much more difficult to fake them this time than it was the first time. Much more difficult. And so I think if we do see an Artemis rocket going to the moon, I won't just automatically shout they're fake. I won't scream they're fake. All right. Again, this is something you can hold me to, and you can say, yeah, no, Artemis is real. Well, even if Artemis is real, it doesn't mean Apollo was real. But yeah, I personally think they will delay it. I mean, there's reasons for believing that they're not ready for this sort of thing. As I discussed with the Apollo detectives, the technology, the methodology, the complexity, and the things like that, and the natural environment, which I talk about on the Apollo Detectives, actually says that. Steve mumbling video, David Smith. This is not the disclosure we're looking for. Well, I don't know if that's a sarcasm or if that's something to do with Star Wars. These are not the droids you're looking for thing, and the mind control thing, which Obi-Wan Kenobi did. But I think it's not. No, I think unfortunately, and if unfortunately is the right word, catastrophic disclosure seems to be the way it's going to go. Right, James Waters says, mumbling, and this is on the same video, mumbling sounds like a terrified man. Why is he so desperate to prove that alien life doesn't exist? That's delving into the psychology of the skepper, which is a tricky thing. Mumbling says here, terrified? Where did you get that from? I'm certainly not. I'm sure alien life exists. I'm also sure it's never been here. Haven't you noticed? No, not one person spreading this ET is here nonsense has offered a scrap of tangible evidence to prove their story. I have. I've been looking into this since the 70s, and I've never seen any tangible evidence to support even one of these stories. Yeah. What's all? I remember, do you remember my video about Peter Paget? And where you said you'd met Peter Paget in the Warminster in the early 70s. You said you knew Peter Paget. Is that true? I mean, I can't remember what you said. You did answer me. But anyway, I disagree with everything you said here, Steve. And I think, you may have been looking into this for a long time, but, a lot of other skeptics have. You're not the first skeptic who's been a long-term UFO skeptic. I mean, Mick West has been doing this for a while. I wouldn't include Michael Shermer because he's kind of like wavering, isn't he? But, Philip Klass was a UFO skeptic for about 40 years. He was in the media for all that time. He appeared at the first... Yes, he appeared at the first PsyCop conference in 1981, I believe it was. Or was it? I can't remember exactly when it was. But when I was at the QED, there was a photo of him, and it's on his Wikipedia page as well. Yeah. So, yeah, these skeptics have been they've been into this sort of thing for a very long time. So, you're not the only skeptic who've been studying this subject for a very long time and commenting on it the way you do for so long, and yet stick by your opinions. And there are people on my side who are equally stubborn. I know. I'm probably one of them. ET disclosure. Second reply to Steve mumbling. How many times do you need to be told? Oops, what's happening now? Nice. Yeah, I need the timestamp. That's it. To put a line through hogwash. He's as clueless as you are. I don't know, Steve, because you've told me that. You tell me that all the time, and you could keep saying. You see, how many times do you need to be told is a rather loaded phrase, because it implies you're telling me about something very obvious that I should know already. It's like these people who say, "I can't believe I have to explain this to you," but it's just a way of avoiding addressing the point. Because I'm making points about something. I'm saying, well, 2 + 2 = 4. And you say, how many times do I have to explain to you that 2 + 2 = 5? It's like, it's very obvious that 2 + 2 = 5. Everyone knows it. But you're the only one who thinks 2 + 2 = 4. And you're just stubbornly clinging to this crazy thing that everyone else has abandoned. And it's so obviously false. But why do you have this? Why are you these 2 + 2 = 4 cultists? Why are you part of that? Same video. This is always edited, this one. I wonder what it said originally. There's nothing to disclose. This is the same video, by the way. So there won't be disclosure within the next 6 months or the next 60 years, unless ET actually does turn up for real and appears all over the internet and on every TV channel. Well, the last bit has kind of already happened. It has turned up for real, and it is all over the internet, and it's starting to get onto TV channels. So if that's your conditions for disclosure, they've already been fulfilled. Oddly enough, my conditions are different. It's a public formal acknowledgement by the Freudian father figure of the state. But yeah, I don't agree with the first bit, obviously. ET disclosure. Brown and Malmgren, says Steve, are more fake whistleblowers. They offer zero tangible evidence to support what they're saying. Well, you're wrong and wrong again. Hugo Roon, hi Ben and all. Finally, a friendly face. Hello Hugo, how are you? Right, Steve mumbling, same video. Here we go. All right, Steve Mumbling, the Apollo lunar landers didn't fall over because they were piloted by humans who could avoid obstacles. I would have thought that would be obvious even to you, Ben. Wake up, FFS. Steve, I've already made this point because Jin Skin Pivot said the same thing you did. What's the point of sending unmanned craft to land on planets? And indeed, the ones on Mars seem to manage all right, don't they? Obviously, there's like Beagle 2 and the Mars 3. There's some that didn't work, but the ones that go to Mars seem to manage all right, don't they? And the ones that went to Venus were also quite successful. Once the Russians realized they had to protect them. But what's the point of having these AI, these artificially intelligent electronics for navigation and piloting, if they can't even land on it, they can't even spot some rocks, a patch of rocks, or something else that might knock them over? I mean, it's a waste of time. Yet we see like these unmanned craft, such as the Bereshit, the Israeli lander, and the Chandrayaan, the Indian one. I think they managed. I think the Israelis got there second time, and the Indians had to wait till the third time, didn't they? Yeah. But anyway, so and this is like with modern technology, not 60-year-old technology. So again, I made that point to Jin Skin Pivot. Steve Mumbling, Zahi Hawass would love the pyramid. Bullshit to be true. It would fund Egyptology research for decades. I don't think so. Personally, he's a political appointee, so he has like an ideological mandate for his position. He's part of a family, kind of like a family clan. I mean, his son is now doing the job he used to do, and that he also, I think he sees the alternative ideas about the pyramids as a slur against his nation. He's a patriotic man who somehow thinks that when Graham Hancock and other people say, well, these are older than we think, he thinks, well, obviously my nation, my great nation, Egypt, this ancient nation, is obviously they just moved in and these things were already there, so they didn't build them. It's an insult to my people, when it's actually not. I mean, there's no reason to think that the race and culture of people who occupy Egypt today are not the same people who did in the Ice Age. All the time when it was wetter and there was rainfall erosion and things like that. So in a sense, it's actually doing the opposite. It's saying that, your nation is actually even greater than you think it was. But he doesn't see it that way. ET disclosure, second reply to Steve Mumbling. You think Nokia would spend millions on a lunar mobile phone spacecraft if they knew Artemis wasn't going to happen? Yes. Well, firstly, they don't know Artemis is not going to happen. They haven't been told probably if it wasn't going to happen. And secondly, they waste money on other more worthless products. I mean, what happened to those Google glasses and the little, what was it, the mini phone and things like that? They were bringing out a line of, there was those big phones with the rubber keys, and they brought out like a half-size one, and they spent like about $2.5 billion developing it, and no one bought it because it was too fiddly, it was too small. So they've wasted money on far more mundane follies. So, Steve, yes, the answer is yes, they would. Whistleblowers, UFO disclosure 2025, whistleblowers galore. Goedek Ein, it sounds like, it looks like a Dutch word, says, the Great Pumpkin is coming. I think that's a reference to the Charlie Brown and Snoopy cartoons, isn't it? Oh, Linus. Charlie's friend Linus, he believes in the Great Pumpkin. Comes out every week. He's doing there's this scene where he's doing this speech and he's rounding everything up near the Halloween party, and he brings up the fake pumpkin, the Great Pumpkin, and they go, oh no. I love that. I love those cartoons. They really are. They're kind of like Charlie, he's a bit of a kind of, what's the word? He's a bit of a cult failure, but he's also kind of like someone that the low status kids in the class can kind of identify with, Joshua says on New Pope live stream, who is he? I don't know, some pope called some what's his name? Some bloke called I can't remember what the name of the new pope is now. Anyway, it's in the video, Joshua. Labbase says on Mumbling, Ben, your responses are not one of the best examples of using facts and fiction. Are one of the best examples of using facts and fiction interchangeably to come up with nonsense that I've seen in a long time. It's the castle built on sand. If your beliefs and understanding are based on falsehoods you take as facts, i.e. free energy exists, then any subsequent explanation or hypothesis is immediately wrong. Opinions have little place in any form of accepted research, alien, paranormal, or otherwise. For the purpose of clarity, fact, as close to base reality as possible. Speculation, observation, to disassemble an idea and work it against other components theoretical. Opinion, perspectives with contributing bias, personal reality. I think that's an unfair assessment of me. Firstly, you're asserting certain things are falsehoods that I think are real without really addressing why you think that. But you said fact is as close to base reality as possible, which I try to do. And I actually do provide reasons why I think certain things are facts. I don't just say, well, this is fact because I say so. I mean, I know some woo-woos who do that. I don't. And speculation, observation, to disassemble idea and work it against other components are theoretical. I do. I mean, my videos are very long and detailed, and I think I do that. Opinion is perspective with contributing bias, personal reality. Yeah. And of course, everyone has that. And the purpose of actually the purpose of logic is actually, in a way, is to attempt to overcome that. And I think I do. I do make an effort to do that. I'm not one of these people who pretends I don't have bias, but I do. But I do try. Steve does as well, and so do you. But I do make an effort to overcome that. I think so. I think I do. And I don't any subsequent. I don't go saying any subsequent explanation or hypothesis is immediately wrong. I allow people like Steve and yourself to explain why, which you haven't actually done here, and then I discuss this with you. You know, there are people who actually say ridiculous things like, "Oh, Ben never ever engages with his with people who disagree with him." I mean, of all the people you could accuse of that, not you, lab-based, but I have had that leveled at me by some people. All right, Steve says here, breaking news. Mellon, Elizondo and Grush all called in sick and couldn't attend Lunar Skiff. Hilarious. What about the one that Psychoactivo talked about? They attended that one. They know they can't attend Lunar Skiff because Arrow will be there and will check out what they have to say. As soon as they do, these guys will be revealed to be science fiction piffle peddlers. And they really can't afford that. This visiting, crashing ET nonsense is the grift that just keeps on giving. They would get no more talking fees, no more TV documentaries, no more book sales, etc., etc., etc. Their cash cow would be dead. It must now be obvious to even the most dyed-in-the-wool fanboy that there really is nothing to this nonsense. If any of this were true, they would be queuing up at Arrow's door to get their stories verified. Well, I'm not going to repeat that, what I said to you before, Steve. I'm not going to repeat what I said before about that. But I've explained why I think the last part is wrong. I'm going to explain why where is it? That's Area 52. Where is he? Because maybe there's an update on this, but you know, there may be many reasons why they haven't been able to go ahead. You are assuming why you think this was done. You are assuming why you think this skiff never went ahead, and you're doing it in an unusual pejorative way and making assumptions that are designed to discredit the people you don't like. Anyway, here we go. There's a lot here. Look. Where are we? There we go. Here, Arrow and Grush inside a skiff. Right, so that's here we are. Right, Eric Davis briefs UFO caucus members in a skiff. So that did happen. So Luna confirms new hearings on how the FBI UFO office made her reconsider. Okay, so your article was published 4 days ago. This is 6 days ago. Okay, so maybe there's more happened since then. But I mean, just as before, Steve, like I said to you before, just because it's been cancelled because apparently they're all off sick, doesn't mean it won't happen. You said before that it was cancelled because Grush was getting his nails done or some other ridiculous piece of rhetoric. But it went ahead, didn't it? It went ahead. And this will too. And you'll be eating those words just like you ate your last portion. Plastic Pyramid says on Mumbling, Ben. If there are genuinely easier ways to make large sums of money than spewing nonsense, writing nonsense, and churning out the YouTube videos full of nonsense, I'd love to hear them. Oh, well, you say here, your examples, selling dodgy double glazing or flipping questionable cars, don't hold up. Both require actual work and carry the risk of prison time, hefty fines, and financial ruin when you get caught. I've sold double glazing that required insurance write-offs for resale. And I can tell you, if you're not playing it straight, you'll eventually get caught and punished. Well, Plastic Pyramid, from what I've gathered, there are a lot of people who don't get caught. And also, I mean, I think your point is that if you make a lot of money spewing out written nonsense and stuff like that about UFOs, there is no social or legal cost, which of course you're wrong about. I mean, we've seen David Wilcock dragged through the courts and Corey Good. They've both been sued for far more than you get in terms of fines if you like had a dodgy double glazing company. I mean, Stephen Cambion, for all his faults, Stephen Cambion has covered this very, very well in great detail. So, and there is, of course, a lot of social cost. For example, you essentially burn your bridges with any previous career. Now, in the case of David Grush, he's a relatively young man. He has a lot to lose there, a huge amount. So I disagree with what you're saying here. And he says, all right, Ben, says Plastic Pyramid on the same video, a separate comment. You mentioned Hutchison and Wood, but let's rewind a bit. Was there ever a time when you promoted the use of explosives on thermite? If so, why was it not clear to you then that, just as you believe now, none were used? It was evidence to the skeptics at the time, so why not to you? Right. I don't think that, was there ever a time when I promoted the use of explosives on thermite? I think if I ever did that, it was before I read Dr. Judy and studied her, because I remember I actually latched onto her ideas quite quickly. If I did so, then I hadn't thought it through. I'd actually gone along with some of the ridiculous excuses that the thermitically correct brigade used, such as, they only did it at night, and they did it under they put in the explosives at night time, or they used special technology. They painted it on. They mixed the thermite with paint, and they painted it on and things. They just pretended to be doing decorating, and they painted it on and things like that. I probably bought into that for a while because I didn't know any better. I was very young at the time, remember. Plastic carries on. You mock skeptics for asking questions like, how were the wires put in given the security measures? No, I do not mock skeptics for that. I praise skeptics for that. If you listen to me carefully, I actually said those are valid questions. And once I started asking those questions, I quickly realized that it wasn't likely. It wasn't very likely. Now, when I ask those questions, there's two ways you can go. You can find out what really happened on 9/11, which is through Dr. Judy Wood's work. Or you can just say, well, obviously, because this is nonsense, I'm just going to go back to the official story, which is why these people put this explosive thermite crap forward. They put it forward to try and get people so confused and so disillusioned when this theory is demolished that they'll simply go back to the official story. He says, but if you once believed that such substances were used in a controlled demolition, did you ever ask yourself the same questions? If so, what answers did you come up with then? And why did they suffice at the time, but seem laughable now? Well, as I said before, I believed such things because I didn't really think about it properly, Plastic Pyramid. I was younger at the time. I'd only been a conspiracy theorist at that time in 2001, I'd only been a conspiracy theorist for about 6 or 7 years or so. I wasn't as experienced as I am now. I was in shock because of 9/11, like a lot of people were. So I was sort of mentally numb. It's a bit like when someone punches you and you get this numbness around the area they punch, which can last for quite a long time. It can last for a good few minutes or longer. So I made a mistake. And the answers I came up with is I believe the people who said things like, well, they sneaked in at night and they did it very quietly when the security, and they made sure they stopped the drilling when the security guards walked past, or they got this special high-tech thermite, or this explosive. They mix with paint and they can just pretend to go in and do the decorations and paint this stuff on, put a bit of extra here and put a bit extra there, that kind of thing. PP says, may I point out that, in my view, Dr. Judy Wood's theory emerged as the final convenient conspiracy explanation. Yeah. Let's have a one in chat for the final convenient conspiracy explanation, as Kevin Logan would say. allowing the theorists the luxury of avoiding questions they had previously been unable to answer sufficiently. I disagree totally. I think that the Dr. Judy Wood's study is actually dealing with the actual evidence and not what I think is a fake controlled opposition, a fallback position for people who question. For people, basically, it's a scoop. It's a trap to lure people who disbelieve the official story down a blind alley. At the end of the alley is not actually blind; it just leads straight back to the official story. Because when people are disappointed and disillusioned, they'll just say, "Well, obviously, I was wrong. I was wrong about the complete situation, and the official story was right." A lot of these documentaries produced by the BBC and other people essentially say that. They say, well, you know, like that ridiculous conspiracy road trip thing that they asked me to be on. And I told them to get stuffed, or words to that effect. And when I watched it, I was bloody relieved. That's where you get Charlie. Charlie Veitch is a prime example. Well, when I've looked at this evidence, you see, I've realized that really there was no way they could have put these explosives in. So I'm now going to take my masculine, handsome chin, and my tall stature and muscular frame, and I'm going to move out to the conspiracy theory, and I'm going to start dealing with the crackheads and the Palestinian protesters, things like that. So yeah, he's a prime example. Charlie was, yeah. Red Snapper says, "Oh, this is St. Theo's Watch Party 2025 introduction." Wow, you're away for St. Theo's Day? Yes, second year running. But, you know, I'm not going to miss contact just for that, unfortunately. I mean, as much as I love St. Theo's Day and my commitment to the Order of St. Theo and the Hospital Porters' pride and dignity, the temptation, the lure of contact in the desert was too much for me. David Smith said on the same video, "I like this film, that is The World's End. Locations used just up the road from me. Too often it gets overlooked, IMO, but it's a solid part of the Cornetto trilogy." Yeah, I mean, I know you see them sometimes, David, but the fans go there. The fans will visit some of the pubs some of them are real pubs that were just given different names and they'd put different signs up when they were creating the outdoor the outdoor shots. But some of them are real pubs, and one of them is a railway station, I know, and another is like another is a cinema. But a lot of the fans go there. You know, they'll sometimes go and they want to have a pint in every. They want to do the Golden Mile themselves, but of course the Golden Mile is actually about 50 Golden Miles because it's in the different pubs are in different locations, and some of them aren't even pubs. But yeah. The Crafty Nihilist says here, "Happy St. Theo's Day, Ben. I thought it was in June. Shows what I know." Oh, it is. And I actually put a text comment here, and I says, "Yes, it is. Thanks, but it is June the 1st. It is June the 1st. It's just the reason I'm doing this now is because I'm going to be away. Oxford Graffiti 12, Neil Peel, Paranormal Peep Show. First one here. Neil, you know, with all these golden hats you're going to be wearing, these golden tinfoil hats, you know, you really need to stay away from deep water, mate. You really do. God. And Carl Costello says, "You actually get a gold tinfoil hat. Well done, sir." Yes, I think it's probably his 20th. Paul says on Oxford Graffiti 12, "Peace and love to you, Ben. Any trips to Wiltshire this summer? The crop circle's looking this year." Yeah, they've just started for yes, I mean, we've had our first one in Wiltshire. That's right, in the heartland. Yes, I am. I'm going to the Bases Summer Seminars, which is it's the last weekend of next month. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that enormously. And at Oxford Graffiti 12, we have a thread. Arts Channel says, "When are they going to paint that Ben Emlyn-Jones mural?" Oh, I would love to be immortalized in nonconformist art. I really would. Neil says, "Me being an artist, if I'm approached with the cash, I would do it. I've done murals and sets before. Ben should be fairly straightforward to paint. I was taught by the best, Rolf Harris." Yeah, as much as he turned out to be a bit of a blackguard, and of course he did inspire a lot of young artists with his TV show. You know, Arts Channel says, "Make sure you include Russell next to him." Neil says, "It would be vital to have symbols of his activity and interests." Well, you know what, Neil? What I'll do is, the moment my book's a bestseller, I'll commission you to do something like that. I will commission you. And then finally, right. Red Snapper says here on St. Theo's Watch Party 2025 introduction, "The World's End is the best movie of the 2010s. It is really good. It's great. I would say, like, I can't really pick a favorite out of the Cornetto trilogy. You know, the Hot Fuzz. That was the second one. The World's End was the last. Hot Fuzz, and then the first one, of course, was Shaun of the Dead, which is a brilliant parody of the Romero-esque zombie movies. Yeah. YT Sweeko says, "You found me, Ben." All right, did I? I think you found me, Sweeko, but thanks very much. All right, I'm now going to just go to and check, see if I've had any comments. While I've been recording this video, there may have been some comments posted, so I'm just going to go and check now, because there might have been some new ones, because I always go through these before I end the video. Let's have a look. Someone liked my reply. Oh, right, that's it. That's just one of my tags. Someone likes one of my timestamps. That's good. And that's it. Right, that's it. Well, big thank you to you all. Obviously, someone asked me how long. Someone asked how long are you going to be doing these. I think it was Red Snapper who said, "How long will you do these reply to comments videos for?" The answer is for as long as you guys keep leaving comments. Simple as that. And that means, of course, that without your comments, I couldn't do these videos. And so I appreciate each and every one of them. Even some of the rude ones were quite amusing and provide me with the ability to produce interesting content for you. You know, I can take the piss out of these trolls and things like that. So yeah, thank you very much, all of you. But but this is actually not the complete end of this video, because as you will know, if you watch regularly, I'm now going to go and record the Alt Tech Annex, which means there's going to be another reply to comments video, which will not be uploaded to YouTube. It'll only be on BitChute, Odyssey, and Rumble. So if you haven't subbed to me there, why not go and sub to me on those platforms? Get yourself an account. It's very easy. It's free, easy to set up. Just put in an email password, and then you can sub to me on Alt Tech and watch the Alt Tech Annex, because if you only watch me on YouTube, you won't see that. Well, what's coming up now? Nothing for quite a long time. Tomorrow, I'm leaving for... This is going to be my last video for probably about 2 weeks. I'm leaving for Contact in the Desert, which is great. I'm really looking forward to it. I'll miss you guys, though. I will miss you. And I will be back and producing new content as soon as I possibly can, including my first video when I come back, which will be in 2 weeks' time. I'm actually returning some weekend after next. Will be a reportage of Contact in the Desert. It will probably be called Ben in the Desert 2 and will be similar to the first one. So once again, thank you all of you for watching HPANWO TV. Have fun in my absence. I'll miss you all, but I'll see you again soon. Hospital Reporters, Pride and Dignity. Stop the New World Order.
Conspiracies, government cover-ups, Earth mysteries, monster cryptids, psyops, saucers and black triangles, HPANWO.